Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome here to the 19th race of the second season of the Clutch Drop Racing Series. We're getting ready to go racing here tonight at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Second time that these drivers have been to this D-shaped mile-and-a-half here in Hampton, Georgia. I'm Seth Cole, alongside of Shane Tyrion, a multi-time winner last season here in this series. Shane, thanks for being here. What did these drivers got to look forward to here today in the afternoon conditions at this tire-eating D-shaped mile-and-a-half?
I would say surviving. They're definitely gonna have to survive. Watching the warm up. There's a lot of loose setups, so it'll be interesting. I would want to be in the front if I were them.
Tom Bourne lines up on the pole position, leading them to green. Tom looking for his second clutch drop win of his career. Of course, won Pocono last season. Green flag in the air, and we are underway here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Of course, we've got 3 stages in this race. These drivers are going to be looking towards lap 60 for the completion of the first stage, and we heard that at least one pit stop stands between these drivers and the end of stage 1, so it'll be interesting to see if they kind of settle into a long green flag run here, if they're going to be very aggressive, since this might be the closest these drivers will be the entirety of this first stage. Tom Bourne going to check out with the top position. Having some internet problems there, but he's out in clean air and nobody around him, so hopefully that settles out for him. The battle will be for second place. Justin Belmonte on the high side. Dylan Stipe on the inside. Got a car way up the track back there. Going to loop it around. And I believe might have been Oscar Jensen. I think he collected up last week's winner, Matt Dyer, as well. There's the 8 of Matt Dyer sitting in the middle of the racetrack, waiting to get his machine refired. Oscar Jensen saw his car dart from the outside to the inside wall. I don't know if he made contact with it or not. Oh yeah, looks like he definitely did. A lot of rear and front end damage on that unsponsored 46. Oscar Jensen, a multi-time winner this season. Let's go back to turn 2, take a look and see what happened for the first caution of the day.
Yeah, watching it, the 16 just slightly came up, and the 46 didn't go to the outside off the corner like you usually do, and made contact, and it pushed the 46 into the wall. And Dyer was just a innocent bystander there. It's unfortunate. He finds bad luck everywhere.
Yeah, fortunately there's a safer barrier down there that both drivers hit, but pretty good impact for both of them. The back end, the rear tires on Matt Dyer's machine coming up off the ground, so he definitely took a hard lick with the front end of his machine as well. That 16 that you alluded to making that initial contact, Landon Allers making his debut here tonight. And is that just in the fact that these drivers, they're trying to figure out which lane they want to be in to try and get that clean air? It's drivers running out of room, or is that maybe a byproduct of those cool, slick tires here in the early stages of the race?
I would say a mixture of cool tires, but what it looked like is the 16 tried to run what we know as the Harvick line there. He hit the line there in the entry, and he drifted up, and then he got too close to the 89, got tight, and then it was just nowhere for the car behind him to go. Even though, from a racing standpoint, because I raced, the 846 probably should have gone to the wall, but things happen. But yeah, the 16 just got tight, being in that air, being right behind that 89 car, and it drifted him up.
Yeah, the tough thing for a driver, though, as I'm sure you'll agree, is when you get up in the wall, the first instinct is to turn to the left to try and get it off. But yeah, unfortunate, him bouncing off the wall, collecting up Matt Dyer. Now, I mentioned that Matt Dyer was the winner last week at Road America. That subsequently locks him into the playoffs. So was sitting on pit road, having to get the damage repaired that he got here in the early stages of this race. That does not take him out of playoff contention, but of course for him, other guys like Belmonte and Cybery, Alonso Chicano, all these guys that have already gone to victory lane and solidified their spots, now they're just utilizing these final races down the home stretch to try and rack up those playoff points.
Yeah, I don't know if you can go back, but under the pace lap, when they went into turn 1, because if you notice the 16 has damage before he even got tight. He just turned into the wall under pace laps and destroyed his right front. So that more than likely is why he got tight. I'm just now watching it. I don't know what happened with that, but that could definitely be a reason.
Take a look, see if we can find out where that contact would have come from.
There's the pace laps in the middle of 1 and 2.
Yeah, he's actually still got the damages. I'm looking here. Might have been right on the initial start of the race. Let's see. This is when they were readying up, getting ready to roll off. It's Matt Dyer just ahead of the 16. And Mike Tellier just behind. And does he run into the back of the 8 here potentially? I don't see anything there.
You know, I
Let's watch
found
it
it.
when they come down here into.
Yeah, it's on lap 0. He just turned right into the wall. And I don't know. It was
Well,
right
the green
in front of
flag
Tellier.
is back in the air here for this restart, so we'll head back to live action as Tom Bourne leads them back into turn 1. Almonte in second, Dylan Stipe, Sean English, and Brian Cybery. That is your top 5. Matt Dyer still sits on pit road getting damage repaired. Oscar Jensen has returned back to the track, still on the lead lap. And a number of drivers came down pit road and just topped off the fuel tank. Dylan Castelli, Brandon King, Gary Peck, and Mike Tellier. So obviously they're planning for this thing to go into maybe a long green flag run from here till the end of the first stage, and they'd like to be able to make that pit stop between now and then a couple laps later than everybody else.
Could be useful, but tires are important here, so I don't know about that call. It could be useful, but I would choose tires over fuel any day at this track.
Mention the fact this is the second time this season these drivers are here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Almost identical track conditions as well as
12 just hit the
Belmonte.
wall.
Yeah, he did really wide off of 4 and brushes the right side of his machine into the safer barrier off the final corner. But the driver that won this event earlier on this season is not in the field here tonight. That would have been SRD's Jeremy Bouchy. We do have Brian Cyber, his teammate, up here holding down the 4th position, now looking to the inside of Belmonte for 3rd. But Tom Bourne, he ended up pretty much dominating the earlier race this season, led 90 laps of that event.
Wreck in turn 4. Wreck in turn 4.
And that's Oscar Jensen in the 46 once again. Looks like a solo incident as he brings that machine to pit lane. It looks like that will not bring out a caution, as they're 3 wide back here.
Tellier was involved.
Tellier has been able to continue on, but he's lost a lot of ground to this lead group. Giacano may have brushed the wall there off of turn 2 as he was way up the track in a 3 wide situation. But Shane, how much information from the race earlier on this year were the drivers able to glean to then apply to this race here later on in the season? Or do you think that they maybe have taken big swings off of what they had earlier on this year?
I don't think so, because Tom Bourne's running an old setup from last year when we were racing, when I was racing. He tweaked it just a little bit. I think the only big change is the left front. I know there was a tire update between the first Atlanta race and this Atlanta race, so I'm not sure. Tom's running a 1.5 year old setup, and he's been very, very fast, so I don't think there might have been too many setups. I mean, the fast guys probably didn't make much. If anything, the guys who probably weren't fast the first race had to have done a big swing. I'm not sure what they would have been. Seeing a lot of loose cars, which is not good here. So I'm curious to see how a lot of these loose guys handle in the long runs.
And to the fact that Tom led 90 laps in the earlier Atlanta race this season. Finished in a 3rd position because he ran out of fuel on the final lap, was not able to make it back to the start-finish line before being passed by the eventual winner, Jeremy Bouchy, as well as the pole sitter for that race, David Durand, who right now is back in the 8th position. 2nd place, though, is Sean English, and he's actually been putting some pressure on Tom Bourne for that lead.
Yeah, I was watching 60 car in warm-up. He was the one of the cars that was really, really, really loose. So, and clearly it was just loose on the cold tires, because he's on a mission right now. So if I was Tom, let him by, save some tires, but we know Tom, he's not going to do that.
Not at all. Oscar Jensen, we saw him have that issue over there in turn 4. 2nd incident he had been involved in the first 10 laps. The 3-time winner has gone to the garage area, so Jensen will not get win number 4 on the season. Was looking to tie Braxton DeWeese for most wins this year. DeWeese right now currently sits at 4 wins, and he's also not in the field here tonight. There's a lot of guys here that have not gone to victory lane yet this season that could find themselves locking themselves up playoff spots here in this race. I'm looking at guys like David Durand, Gary Peck back there in the 22, Dylan Stipe in the 4 as well. These are guys that have run full-time this year. I would love to be able to solidify their playoff spots with a trip to victory lane, but then you've also got guys up here inside of your top 2 in English and Bourne that are on a part-time schedule. Even if they won here today, they would not be locking themselves up playoff positions.
Yeah, Tom's just here for the wins. Right now I'm watching battle for 8th. There's 5 cars under a blanket. There was almost 3 wide between the, well, I believe that's the 4, and then the 16 who's involved in the early incident. So I'm watching that one, seeing what's going on with that one. But, well, as they single file it out, so never mind on that. But I'm, as the, forgot what I was going to look at.
Also got the 7 back there of David Castelli, the Raise Energy blue and white Chevrolet there. Castelli made a number of starts last season. First start here in Season 2 for him, as Gary Peck currently leads this second group, about almost a second and 2/10 behind this lead group of 6, which right now is being tailed by the 32 of Jesse Powers. Chicano keeps running really high up there on the racetrack, and that's about the 3rd or 4th time I've seen him either just barely get or just barely miss. I'm not sure which it is, hitting that outside wall. Obviously, he's up there looking for clean air to get to the nose, but it's just seeming like there's not enough grip on corner exit for him to be able to keep it there. It looks like he's almost about to pancake it.
Yeah, he was doing that warm-up. He was really making it work, but that might hurt his tires. I don't know. iRacing's not the same as real life when it comes to tire models, so we'll see. But if he can save his tires, that outside line is going to be very good here.
English has gone to the front. Tom Bourne into second place now, and may lose that because here comes Justin Belmonte. Belmonte's been one of the most consistent drivers on the season. He's leading the overall standings, and in the last 5 weeks, he's found victory lane twice, now trying to find victory lane for a 3rd time, continue to extend his points lead. Or Mike Tellier got a little tight there, might have gotten the left sides down that white line and almost pushed up into the 54. Look at all the momentum he loses.
Yeah, I was just going to say Belmonte needs to be a little careful. He's got that right front damage. That car's going to push. He needs to just relax, save some tires, and let the tires move him up, because that right front damage is really going to hurt him off corner exit.
Now, we were told that these drivers can go maybe max around 40 laps. I think we were told about 34 to 37 laps on a tank of fuel, and the tires can make it that far. It's just a matter of what the tires look like in the final couple of laps before coming to pit lane. Belmonte charging back to the inside, and Alonso Chicano, and he will take the 3rd position. Behind them, Jesse Powers got around Brian Cybery to move up into the top 5. Jesse Powers on a part-time schedule here this season as well, another driver that could easily snipe away an automatic playoff position from a full-time driver, as he has made some pretty good progress here in this race. The drivers so far, actually 2 drivers that have gained the most spots since the drop of the green flag. Sean English up 6 spots after starting 7th. He's in the race lead. And Alonso Chicano, despite the fact that he's almost been on a first-name acquaintance with the outside wall a couple of times here in the first 20 laps, he's picked up 7 spots, started outside the top 10 and 11th, now up to 4th.
And watching the leader, he's running the same line that Alonso's been running, but he's arcing it more in turns 1 and 2. But turns 3 and 4, he's looking like Kyle Busch earlier this race. He's right against the wall, a little bit lower sometimes, and he's been about a 10th faster than the field every other lap. So he's on a mission right now. He's going to just ride, get that clean air, and take full advantage of it.
It's only 20 laps in, but we're starting to get an idea of drivers that are getting better as the run goes on. Justin Belmonte has been able to work his way up to 3rd. His teammate Gary Peck was actually leading that second group. When we looked at him last, he's now latched on to the back end of this top 6. Is now going to challenge Brian Cybery for that 6th position, as Chicano got loose there again. Might have brushed the wall off of turn 2, but Peck and Belmonte right now, they're running the fastest laps consistently on the track the last 5 laps, as Sean English got loose there in the middle of 3 and 4 from the race lead.
Yeah, you're starting to see what that high line is doing to those rear tires, as Tom Bourne's going to have a huge run here into 1.
Drives it down to the white line there, does Tom Bourne. Straddles the white line with the left side tires, tries to get the exit off of 2, but English, nice job to be able to recover, because we've seen a couple of drivers get loose off corner exit, lose a lot of momentum in a lot of spots. English had about maybe 0.3 of a second between himself and Tom Bourne, so that gave him enough time to be able to get his momentum back before that FRN Toyota Camry got to his back bumper. But Justin Belmonte now has arrived on the scene. 3-car fight for the race lead.
Yeah, I watched Belmonte a couple laps ago entering turn 3 from the outside. He about near wrecked that car. He got very loose entering, so he's pushing his tires, and he just wants that clean air, but it's very hard to pass here on these long runs, especially with open setups.
Matt Dyer spent about 14 laps on pit lane getting... And we're going to have a wreck here. David Durand over in turn 3. He's also collected up Alonso Chicano. And I'm assuming it might have been the 10 car that might have possibly gotten the wall again, leading to this wreck. Let's go back and see what happened there. David Durand was running around the 9th position. Chicano was battling at the time, I believe, for 5th place. He was battling with the 22 of Gary Peckin. Oh, wow. Chicano, he got loose off of 2, got up into the wall, and it was almost like he couldn't get off the wall.
Yeah, it looked like he was trying to keep it on the wall because he knew he was going to bounce into other cars, but then he turned it too much right and ended up bouncing into the 22. So I give him credit for trying, but it didn't work.
And then when he shot down the track, that was David Durand that came into view, and also I saw the 51 of Evan Coleman in a big chunk of that. We're going to go on board with the 51 machine here, as you'll see the smoke up ahead there on the inside of turn 3 from when Chicano's car snaps loose. Looks like this has already taken both Chicano and Evan Coleman out of this race. Wow, Castelli just up ahead there in the 7, barely squeezing his way through. "26 laps in, second caution of the day. A little surprised it's already turned into a bit of a race of attrition, and the fact that we've already got 3 drivers that are out of this race: Jensen, Coleman, and Chicano. When we go back green, we're only going to have 14 of our drivers still running. And right now, I believe Mike Tellier getting the free pass. We're only going to have 11 of them scored on the lead lap.
Yeah, typical Atlanta. This is always going to be a battle of attrition, battle of survival. I said it at the beginning. Just, man, it's going to be a rough one for these guys. It's going to be a long race, 26 laps in, and already have 3-4 cars out of this race.
Add another driver to the garage area as the 24 of David Durand just got pushed back there. So right now, 13 drivers still scored in this race. 11 of them on the lead lap. Mike Tellier currently scored 9 laps down. Matt Dyer currently scored 13 laps down to the race leader, which right now is the 54 of Tom Bourne. We're about halfway through the first stage here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Step aside for a quick commercial break, and we'll be back here for the green flag momentarily as we go FRN side by side.
Welcome, race fans. This is Paul Page, the voice of IndyCars. And today we're excited to present another IndyCar event brought to you by the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. From the Unzers to Mears, Foyt, and Andretti, now it's Corley, Peterson, Davies, Gardner, and Teague. You can expect high speeds, incredible wheel-to-wheel action, and intense drama that you could only get in an IndyCar. So sit back and enjoy your favorite drivers from all over the world take the track. Dark Horse IndyCar drivers, start your engine. Welcome, race fans. This is Paul Page, the voice of IndyCars. And today we're excited to present another IndyCar event brought to you by the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. From the Unzers to Mears, Foyt, and Andretti, now it's Corley, Peterson, Davies, Gardner, and Teague. You can expect high speeds, incredible wheel-to-wheel action, and intense drama that you could only get in an IndyCar. So sit back and enjoy your favorite drivers from all over the world take the track. Dark Horse IndyCar drivers, start your engine.
Working our second caution of the night here at Atlanta Motor Speedway for the Clutch Drop Racing Series. And get ready for our second restart of the evening as Tom Bourne going to lead us back to the green flag. Sean English to his outside in second. Brian Sybry, Jesse Powers there in row 2. Things kind of wadded up here on the D-shaped front straightaway heading into turn 1. Let's see if these guys can settle it out here as already not even 30 laps in, 4 drivers in the garage area, leaving us 11 drivers theoretically at this point still in the hunt for the victory.
Yeah, and the 60 car is blinking as he's going underneath Tom, so there's no net code. Tom is... Oh, okay, he's not going to let him by. I'm curious, both those cars have been blinking, so I'm a little nervous for them that they're going to have some net code issues.
Tom Bourne gets that run on the outside line off of 4, though. Going to hold off Sean English for the time being. Battle's going to be for the 4th position. That's the 32 of Jesse Powers on the inside. Belmonte was on his outside by the time they got to turn 1. Now fades back to the 5th position. And it was interesting because when we were talking here during the commercial break, you were bringing up a point about different lines affecting different tires here for these drivers, especially on the long run.
Yeah, we noticed that with the 60 and the 12, they were running the outside, the 10 as well. When you enter the outside, you're carrying more speeds, you're sliding over your tires. You're going to burn those a lot faster than the right front when people run the bottoms, and we were seeing that in the long run. The 60 got loose off the corner, the 12 will get loose entering the corner. As for Tom, he's been running the bottom, and he's been a little tight. The 12 was tight when he's running the bottom a little bit, but yeah, they're gonna burn their rear tires running the top as hard as they are, sliding them around. Because with the update, you can run multiple lanes now. I mean, as good as we can get with real life now, but yeah, unless they get a good setup and make some adjustments, it's going to be a tough one if they keep running that top.
Now, we had everyone down pit road under this most recent caution. Looks like a number of drivers, Tom Bourne, Sean English, Brian Sybry, Jesse Powers, Dylan Stipe, amongst a few of them, came down and did fuel only. I do see a couple of drivers spent some extra time on pit road. The 12 of Justin Belmonte, also the 89 of Brandon King. It seems like, though, for Belmonte, a bit of his time spent on pit road was repairing damage. I almost wonder if it might have been repairing that right front damage you were talking about that he had earlier on.
Yeah, it looked like he fixed it a little bit, but looking at the damage right now, it's still going to affect him here in the long run. Short run, he'll be fine, but it's longer run, if they start to spread out, he's going to really notice a difference.
Obviously, there's a lot of driver preference in terms of how you want your setup to feel, but as mentioned, Jeremy Bushi was the winner earlier on this season here at Atlanta out of SRD. Only 2 SRD drivers in the field here tonight. Brian Sybry, the highest in 2nd place. Tim Hendry right now back in 11th, but you got to wonder how much information was passed on from Bushi, who's not in the field here tonight, to Brian Sybry to maybe see if Sybry can pick up his 2nd win on the season.
Also noticing Evan Coleman has rejoined the server, so we got 13 cars on the track now instead of 12. So Evan's just logging out laps, first car lap down, so if we get enough cautions, he could come back. He's only 6 down.
He is indeed right now holding down the 12th position. Speaking of lap machines, Mike Tellier there in that 97 making some moves here amongst the top 4. He is 9 laps down, however, in 13th place. So right now I think his goal is to maybe get up here in front of Tom Bourne, get one of his laps back the hard way. Obviously a much tougher task to get 9 laps back than it is the 6 laps that Evan Coleman are trying to get back. And even so with that, I mean, you got to hope for a lot of cautions here. We're going to have 2 stage cautions coming up, so that's 2 laps that Coleman would potentially get back. But as the field gets smaller and smaller, the likelihood of cautions gets fewer and fewer. So less chance of an opportunity to be able to get enough lucky dogs to get back on the lead lap for pretty much most of the drivers right now that find themselves multiple laps down.
Yeah, it always goes when you want cautions, they don't happen. But when I was in the 33, he almost got into the wall off of turn 2, lost some time. And then that's when Tellier got around him. He didn't hit the wall, he got very, very close. So he was running that middle line where he got loose and then tight. So, curious if he's going to keep running that middle. Tom's been running that middle. If that's what's going to happen, don't know if that's going to work, in my opinion there.
Tom now running the inside through 1 and 2 there, and Cybery decided to run the middle line through 1 and 2. Let's see if they run different lines here through 3 and 4. No, looks like they're both going to pretty much straddle that first seam. Bourne goes up a little bit higher there into 4 to get a better run on the front straightaway on exit. We've had an exchange for position back here just inside the top 5. Brandon King, for the first time, has popped up into a top 5 position. Now we're trying to get 4th place from Jesse Powers. Brandon King coming into this race currently in the 14th position, so he is currently in a playoff spot, but he also has a couple of drivers that are underneath him in the point standings that have been to victory lane, like Matt Dyer and Alonso Chicano, so he's got to continue to fight to make sure that he doesn't find himself down there right on the cut line when we potentially get to the regular season finale.
Yeah, Seth, lap 37 off of turn 4. Sean English got loose, and I believe he just quit the sim before he hit the wall, bring out a caution. He left. Sean English, the guy leading early, is gone from the server right now.
He's gone, and I also just noticed that David Castelli looks like he is gone. This driver in the number 7 who, when we just were looking at that battle back there for a 5th place. Actually, correction, nope, must have been some connection problems because he's reappeared in 6th position. I was going to say, he was having a good run. He was battling for a spot inside the top 5 when we last looked. And you saw him just back there still with Jesse Powers and Brandon King, the 4th through 6th position battle. As Tom Bourne continues to show the way, right now about 3 car lengths back to Brian Cybery, and then another 2 car lengths back to Justin Belmonte. Now we saw on that first long green flag run that Belmonte's car appeared to be the best on the long run. These drivers have now gone out for 14 laps on this stint. We'll start to see if this 12 car gets better and better. This has kind of been his MO at the mile-and-a-half tracks the last couple of times we've been to those track lengths. And so obviously he's very good when it comes to the mile-and-a-half programs, it seems.
Yeah, if you can save tires, you'd be really fast here. It's interesting to see because you got Tom Bourne, who just loves to be out front. He tries to save his tires, but it's a lot harder when you have to let off the gas. You don't get the draft to pull you in, and you lose a lot of time. So Tom's going to burn his stuff up probably a lot more than Belmonte in Cybery. And if you can be good, like Belmonte being in 3rd, he's got 2 cars in front of him, just pulling him around. And probably after the next 15, 20 laps or so, maybe sooner than that is Atlanta, you'll probably see Tom Bourne get past you by the 33 or the 12.
Now, when we went back green, it was lap 26, and we were told that maybe these drivers could stretch it 40 laps on what they've got in the tank, especially if you're in some draft, which both Brian Cybery and Justin Belmonte appear to be right at the moment. So theoretically, these drivers could, if they wanted to, probably make it to the conclusion of this first stage. But we've also seen drivers give up playoff points to come down pit road near the end of the first or second stage, depending on what the situation is, take the fresh tires, keep themselves on the lead lap, and then cycle around with good starting track position for the next stage. The one thing I'm wondering here, though, is where do you have to be in relation to the leader for that strategy to work and keep yourself on the lead lap? Because, yeah, it's a mile-and-a-half track, but these guys are carrying an awful lot of speed around it as well. It's going to be very difficult to make sure that you stay on the lead lap before that stage caution comes out.
Yeah, you're with only 10 cars here on the lead lap. You want to be on the same strategy. I don't see any other strategy working, especially right after a restart. It's just, I don't think that's gonna work. These guys are still carrying a lot of speed. You gotta stay with these leaders or within like 2 seconds to even make that strategy work. So even they can stay on the lead lap. I don't see it happening.
Well, it was kind of difficult with the different times on the telemetry screen we have with drivers on pit road to figure out who may have possibly taken tires under the last caution. I think it's pretty easy to say the 89 of Brandon King was a driver that put on a fresh set of Goodyears because he is reeled in the top 3, and he is going to bypass all 3 of them in the span of half a lap. So Brandon King looking for that playoff point here at the end of the first stage.
Yeah, and he's just rolling that bottom. Everyone else stuck on the top, using those fresh tires, and he's just gonna stays green. He's got this.
Going to be a total of 15 laps to go here in the first stage. This would be huge for Brandon King, not just in the fact that he could get a playoff point, but also get those valuable 10 stage points. As mentioned, he's down there potentially around that cut line, and there's not a whole lot of regular season left to go either. After this race, I believe we've got a total of 7 or 8 races left in the regular season. I'll have to double check on that, but obviously, actually it's only a total of 5 races left in the regular season. So it's coming down to crunch time for a lot of these guys down around that cut line. They got to start making those moves now, and Brandon King, with not a lot of the drivers that are around him in the point standings in the field here tonight, taking good advantage of that. We've got some smoke there, Shane, on the back straightaway. I'm not certain if that might have been possibly from a warping machine or if someone else might have run into an issue.
I heard
maybe the
Dylan Stipe
16
on the radio, and it looks like it is the 16.
Landon Allers coming to pit lane.
Yeah, Dylan Stipe got tight off of turn 2. The 16 caught him at a really bad time off of turn 2. Got into the left rear of the 4, and it sent him to the inside wall.
And since that was off the racing surface, oh wow, Brian Cybery back there on a 4-wheel slide as he was battling with Belmonte for the 3rd position. Nice save by the 33. With the 16 spinning down on the theoretical apron back there, down off the racing line. No caution going to come out here as we close in on 10 to go in stage 1. Seen a lot more drivers getting really loose on corner exit. Tom Bourne had that issue about 5 laps ago. We just saw Brian Cyber. There's Mike Tellier getting loose in the 97. And all these guys are going to have to deal with this for another 10 laps before they can take on those fresh tires.
Yeah, Cyber was flirting with that wall for a while off of turn 2, and it finally got to him. Finally did it. He's been running that middle line where he's getting tight, and then he tries to turn it too much, and he just gets way too loose off the corner. So he's going to have to make some adjustments to counter that.
Almonte trying to get 2nd place from Tom Bourne here. Closing in on the end of the first stage, but they're all chasing Brandon King that has 2.5 seconds back to Tom Bourne, so he is running away with this thing. He just wants to see this stage finish under green flag conditions, pick up that valuable playoff point. Now, Landon Allers has hit pit lane, as we saw. He's still sitting there 2 laps down. Depending on how long he sits on pit road, Mike Tellier might have enough laps to be able to get that 10th position before the conclusion of this stage. So that one valuable point at the end of stage 1 could be up for grabs here.
Yeah, Landon Allers might be on there for a while. He hit that inside the wall really, really hard. The left side of his car is destroyed. So he's going to probably be on there for a while. I wouldn't be surprised if he called it a night.
Here's the 6th place battle. Gary Peck in the 22, David Castelli in the 7. Peck running up in the middle groove there. At a half groove, maybe a full groove lower is Dylan Castelli. Now, obviously, we know Atlanta's got that old track surface. We can clearly see the grooves designated with those seams there. You know, we're in the afternoon conditions. Track conditions are slick. The sun's been beating down on this surface pretty much all day long, despite the fact shadows are starting to creep in, especially over in 1 and 2. How much loss of grip do you feel on those seams, if any at all?
It depends. In the middle, you'll feel it. I don't know about the top. I don't really run the top here, so I can't really speak for that. But I know the seam sometimes on older tires, especially in open setups, if you have your car loose, you can definitely feel it. But as far as the top line seam, I am not sure. I don't believe so, judging by what I'm seeing. But it definitely can play a factor here in open setups.
Riding on board with Justin Belmonte as he's trying to get by Tom Bourne for 2nd place. Got back to the throttle there through the center of the corner. Gets alongside of the left rear quarter panel down the front straightaway. Ooh, wasn't sure if he was clear or not, but he does tuck back in behind the 54, and we'll try and set him up again here through 1 and 2. See those shadows there creeping into 1 and 2? The sun starting to set over in that area, and the shadows from the billboards starting to overcast those first 2 corners, and obviously that's going to cool the track down a little bit. How's that going to affect these guys with the fact that 3 and 4, that's still bathed in pretty good sunlight, is going to be a little bit hotter, a little bit slicker than 1 and 2 is going to be at a certain point of this race?
For me, for racing, I would much rather have turn 3 and 4 be loose than turns 1 and 2. 1 and 2 is way faster coming off the corner than turns 3 and 4. So this is going to help a lot of guys that have loose setups. Turn 2 is going to be a lot less, scary coming off the corner. Yeah, they're probably hoping for that corner to be shaded out. In turn 3, not seeing many people get loose in there, so they're probably going to be just fine with that.
See Mike Tellier there get loose off of 4 as he's letting the lead lap cars of Tom Bourne and Justin Belmonte continue to battle for second, and Mike Tellier will indeed, looks like, be finishing 10th in this stage. Landon Allers is in the garage area now as well, joining Sean English, Evan Coleman, Alonso Chicano, David Durand, and Oscar Jensen. So it looks like when we reach the conclusion of stage 1, only 11 drivers will be running, and only 9 of them on the lead lap, as it's 4 to go for Brandon King in that 89 machine. He has seen a number of his teammates go to victory lane this season. This is a great strategy call that's going to gain him stage points and a playoff point, but you got to wonder about long term here. He's going to be down a set of tires to everybody else.
Yeah, but with these less cars, it could pay off, because I think stage 2 might stay green. But I'm watching Belmonte and Tom right now. They just made contact in the middle of turn 1 and 2, fighting really hard for that second place. And contact again, and Belmonte saved it.
So Belmonte pushing up, Tom Bourne pinching him down. The two definitely made some contact there. A nice save by Justin Belmonte to not have that thing snap around on him in what's been a great battle for the second position in the final 10 laps of this first stage. This is only stage 1. These drivers still have 2 more stages to go, including a 95 lap stage 3. So still a long ways, a lot of strategy for these drivers to play out, but right now a lot of them kind of sizing up their competition here in the first stage, as Dylan Stipe gonna get lapped, it looks like, here by Brandon King. Now it's a long ways up to the next driver of Tim Hendry, so I don't think that any other drivers will fall a lap down here. Stipe should get the lucky dog and be back on the lead lap when the stage caution comes out, which is going to be momentarily here, because the theoretical white flag for stage 1 is going to be in the air for Brandon King. So he's got 1 more lap before we'll see the green and white checkered and eventually the caution. Right now, all of the top 10 drivers that you see there on the top half of your ticker, they are all in line for some stage points, as Justin Belmonte back at Tom Bourne again for second place on the final lap of stage 1.
Yeah, these guys, I think in the back of their mind, they know Brandon is down a set of tires, so they're racing each other. They know this is probably going to be for the win here on the final stage, so they're going to make sure they're going to be ahead of each other. That's, judging by how hard they're racing, it's exactly what they're doing.
Talked about how Justin Belmonte's mile-and-a-half program has really picked up here, as there's the stage caution. Brandon King with the victory. Belmonte second. Bourne will cross in third. Ryan Sybry and Jesse Powers going to be the top 5, but Belmonte last season, or not last season, but earlier on this year, never led a lap. Finished 7th place, first car 1 lap down here at Atlanta. Obviously has made a lot of improvements from then till now, as Brandon King is your stage 1 winner. He's going to get those 10 valuable stage points and a playoff point should he make it into the championship battle. So good strategy call, but again, we're going to have to see how being down that extra set of tires is going to affect them. These drivers were given 5 sets of tires to start this race, the set they started on, and 4 sets for the 215 laps here tonight. So Brandon King got the track position, 36 laps on his tires. Obviously, I would assume, Shane, he's got to come down. He's got to take on another set here, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. With this least amount of cars here, he's just going to have to chance it. There's going to be no more yellows and be able to stay on the same strategy as these guys. And if there's by any chance he takes his last set on that final stage and there's a yellow, he's going to be a sitting duck. But he's, judging by the least amount of cars, he's probably in a good... He's in the catbird seat here if it stays green. The
Brandon King trying to solidify his playoff position. Another driver that got got himself some playoff points here, and Tim Hendry got 3 playoff points, finishing in 8th. He came into this race 10th in the standings. And why even 10th in the standings might not be safe, there's a number of guys, as mentioned, that have victories this season that are further down in the overall point standings, like Alonso Chicano, Braden Carroll, Matt Dyer, and there's also some names of drivers that have shown they have potential race-winning speed, like Evan Coleman and Caleb Smith. So can't take anything for granted, as Tom Bourne with that number 1 pit stall. Let's see if that's going to pay dividends here to maybe win the battle off pit road. No, Justin Belmonte is actually going to win the battle off of pit lane, followed by Tom Bourne, and looks like Tim Hendry is going to come out in the 3rd position. But what do you say we dial up our Stage 1 winner, Brandon King? Ask him about that strategy to pick up his first stage win on the season. Hey, Brandon, Shane and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, gutsy call there to take on tires about halfway through that first stage, but it paid off. You pick up that stage victory, the valuable stage points, and that playoff point. We talked about the fact there's 5 regular season races left after tonight. Are we just basically now making sure we're solidified into a playoff spot with that strategy there?
Yeah, but unfortunately, burst your bubble there. I actually didn't take any tires. I managed them really well that stage, and it really paid off there in the end.
Wow, then that car absolutely must be on rails, because we saw you bypass the top 3. It looked like you were going 10, 15 miles per hour faster, so you're going to be back here in traffic now, but obviously that car's got good long run speed, so what are you thinking? Is this thing going to be able to fly back up to the front here in stage 2?
I believe so, but guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Well, Brandon, best of luck to you here. We'll let you get back at it. Congrats on that stage victory, and who knows, we may see you get your first win on the season here and absolutely lock up a playoff spot. Best of luck.
10-4, appreciate it.
So that's a bit of a surprise. I could have sworn, with how fast he was coming up through the field, that he had taken on tires. I mean, if that thing is that fast on equal footing with the rest of the guys up ahead of him, it may be a no contest in this race, although he is going to have to cut his way through quite a bit of traffic here once again.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to keep an eye on him, see what he's doing. He's probably just rolling that bottom, losing a bunch of time in the first few laps, and then he's just pulling everyone back. Yeah, I'm definitely going to pay attention and see exactly what he's doing and get an idea of it.
Well, Brandon King will be restarting back in the 6th position behind the top 5, which consist of Justin Belmonte, Tom Bourne, Tim Hendry, Gary Peck, and Brian Cybery. King in 6th, Jesse Powers in 7th. 8th will be David Castelli, and Dylan Stipe did get the lucky dog under that caution. He'll restart in the 9th spot. 10 drivers that are going to still be running. Mike Tellier, the last of those, as he is in the 10th position. Matt Dyer was able to make his way up to 12th place before eventually bringing his car to the garage and officially retiring from the race. So 17 drivers started this event. 2 cautions came out early for contact incidents. We also had some other incidents prior to the stage caution coming out, and it has put 7 drivers in the garage area. We have not even started stage 2, but these drivers still have 150 laps between themselves and the checkered flag. And now with a slightly smaller field, you got to wonder if we're going to see long green flag run from here to the end of stage 2, and these drivers experiencing their first time on pit lane for green flag pit stops.
Looking at Brandon King's pit stop, I think he purposely did not go so he could stay in the back and save his tires. So I'm watching him right now, and yeah, he's just letting everyone go. He's going to stay. So if this does stay green, probably going to see the 89 car right back at front, right where he was towards the end of it.
Keep an eye on that as Tom Bourne pulls right up to the back bumper of Justin Belmonte into turn 3. Tried to make the move, couldn't do it. Battle behind them, Gary Peck in the 22. going to swing around the outside of Tim Hendry to take the 3rd position. Brian Sybry looking to do the same as he'll now slot into the 4th position. Ooh, got a little loose there into turn 1 as he'll duck down behind the 22 through turn 2 and onto the back straightaway. Tom Bourne, though, again, taking a look to the inside of Justin Belmonte, and I'm not certain that Belmonte's going to put up a whole lot of a fight here right now, because I think he'd be more than happy to have the 54 burn up his stuff.
Yeah, Tom right now is not too happy with the 12. I was actually talking to him during that break. He wasn't happy with how he raced him, so when Tom gets angry, burns his stuff up, races the guy he's angry with really, really hard, so it's going to bite him. So we'll see. Might see some contact, might see a wreck, who knows.
Well, Belmonte had contact right there, but was with the outside wall off of turn 2, and here comes Gary Peck. Both the 54 and the 12 lost a ton of momentum off of 2. Peck did not lift. He's going to look to the inside of Tom Bourne for the top spot. Can't quite make the move here at the start-finish line. Gary Peck comes into this race 22nd in the overall standings, making his 9th start on the year. And again, going to duck down to the inside on the back straightaway of Tom Bourne for the race lead going into turn 3. Obviously, the NASCAR Cup Series ran here at Atlanta earlier on today, and I believe it was Jeff Burton made the point that you want to run the maybe middle to high line over in 1 and 2, but you want to run right down there on the inside through 3 and 4. A couple of drivers have tried that here tonight, Shane, and the momentum just hasn't seemed to be there for them.
Yeah, turn 3 and 4 here, it all depends on your arc in. Unlike, real life, they can just drive it right to the bottom. You saw Kurt Busch do that, and that's how he won the race. The top line does work here better on the sim than it does in real life, because if you watched Kyle Busch earlier today, he would run that top, didn't really get a run off the corner. But the thing I'm noticing with the 89, he is running close to a second off the pace each and every lap. He is in full save modes. What he's doing, he's not even going 180 miles an hour into the turn. So he is hard saving. That's exactly what he did, and he knows it worked. So it worked, but he's so far already 5 seconds behind this pack.
And obviously we saw a couple of cautions in that first stage, and so we had about, roughly a 35-lap race to the end of the first stage. The drivers did not have to worry about coming to pit lane for the conclusion of stage 1, as Brian Sybry is actually going to take the race lead there around the top side. So that actually worked out in favor of Brandon King. Now with the fact that we know that these drivers potentially have a green flag pit stop coming up, is this the right strategy for Brandon King? And if so, when does he have to punch the go button to make sure he's going to be up there in the race lead by the time we get to that cycle of green flag pit stops?
I would say he's going to punch it halfway through this field run. He's going to have to. He can't wait as long as he did last time. He's going to wait till he's like halfway before he has to pit, and he's going to punch it. Hopefully either get past these guys or get to these guys before and then pit with them. That would be the best bet. If he waits too long, I don't think it's going to work, especially if these guys catch on to the fact that he is catching them very, very fast, that they're probably going to short pit and stay ahead of him.
It's like Tom Bourne, his car really good when he's out in clean air, but then when he gets back in traffic, he just can't seem to hold the bottom. He runs really wide there in 1 and 2, up high in 3 and 4 as well, trying to keep these drivers behind him at bay. Gary Peck just got around him. Jesse Power is going to go around him. He's going to drop back now to the 5th position. So is that an ill-handling race car, or is he starting to drop back to conserve some tires as well?
I think he's caught on to what the 89's doing. You can tell he's letting off in the corners. He's just letting everyone by. He is just riding. He's learning. He saw what happened with the 89. He sees the 89 is like over 6 seconds behind, 8 seconds now behind the pack. So he's playing the long run here because he doesn't think there's going to be a yellow.
And of course, not really racing for stage points, not really racing for playoff points as Tom Bourne, just going for the win. So you have that luxury of being able to try and pull off an unorthodox strategy like that. But in the case of guys up here like Brian Sybry, Justin Belmonte, these are some guys that are trying to win the overall championship for the regular season, take those extra playoff points into the championship battle. Right now, Justin Belmonte came into this race 5 points ahead of Mike Tellier and 51 points ahead of Brian Sybry. All three of those drivers are still on the racetrack right now, with Sybry the leader, Belmonte in second, and Tellier 9 laps down in the 10th position.
Yeah, watching Tom, he's not saving as hard as 89, but he is off the throttle for almost 3/4 of the turns. So yeah, he's in hard save mode. The car's not handling bad. It's just he wants to win. He's here for the win, so he's here looking for the long run here.
Ryan Seiberry, his victory earlier on this season did come at a 1.5-mile track. It was at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. No, actually, correction. That was actually the week before at Homestead Miami Speedway. So trying to pick up his second 1.5-mile win on the season, and trying to join a number of drivers as a multi-time winner this season as well. Justin Belmonte, Braxton DeWeese, Jeremy Bouchy, and Oscar Jensen have all been to victory lane more than once during the course of this year. Belmonte, however, is starting to reel in Brian Seiberry for the top spot. That last time by about 9/100ths faster than the 33. 15 laps into this stint. Again, we've been told these drivers can maybe make it about 34 to 37 laps. So with that being said, knowing that we're going to be reaching our second stage at the completion of lap 120, somewhere in the next, 20, 25 laps, we're going to see these drivers come onto pit lane. Now, in driver preference, Shane, do you come to pit lane as soon as that window opens to know that you're able to make it to the end of the stage, kind of do the undercut, take those fresh tires as early as possible, or do you stretch it as far as you possibly can so that way you maybe spend a little less time on pit road?
Well, if you want a driver's can't even speak. Tom Bourne actually wants to come up here and do a quick in-race interview while he's running on the track right now.
All right, let's see if we can dial him up here, as right now Tom Bourne on an island of his own back in the 6th position. Hey, Tom, the boys up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Hey, guys.
All right, so we're seeing that obviously you're kind of back there doing a little bit of unorthodox strategy. I got to wonder here, and it's nice to be able to find out directly from the horse's mouth, as it were. I mean, you know, can you gain this time back? Obviously, you're in conservation mode right now for both tires and I would assume maybe some fuel as well. But at what point does this actually level out and get you back up there with these guys?
I mean, I saw what the 89 did on that first run, and I was pretty surprised. I thought he hit with, 35 to go onto that last caution, close stage caution to get new tires, and then I got a message from my crew chief saying that I didn't, he didn't, and I'm like, oh, all right, well. And then I saw what he's doing this run, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to try this. So whenever he starts going, I'm going to start going, and we'll see what happens. But, I mean, I got nothing to lose. I'm not trying to make the chase or anything, so.
So, Tom, when are you going to step it up? Are you going to wait till close to pit stops, halfway to pit stops? When are you going to actually turn it on and start getting them back up?
Probably after pit stops, honestly. If everybody doesn't take tires here, which they shouldn't, everybody's gonna have two sets of tires left after the second stage is over. So honestly, we're gonna try and save as many tires as much tires as we can for this last run to the end of stage 2, and hopefully we can gain those positions back.
Yeah, we're seeing a number. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Shane.
I just got one more question before we let him go. Is tire wear going to be an issue? Are you close to blowing tires? How is that looking?
I'm not. I ran the first stage. The tires were still good. We were in the 40s and whatnot. So the setup's handling very, very well. Even with me pushing the car, I can put it wherever I want. Other people, on the other hand, I don't know about that. I've heard from some people that they've blown a tire or getting onto pit road, like under that last caution, or just about to blow a tire. So we'll see.
So we're watching this good battle here for the race lead. I got to ask you real quickly here, Tom, as well. You know, we're seeing yourself, Brandon King, it looks like Dylan Stipe, all of you are kind of dropping back there in conservation mode. It's going to be interesting to see when you guys start moving to the front. But this is on a 60-lap stint here for the second stage. We're going to have 90 laps when we get to that third and final stage. You guys are going to more than likely have to make at least 2 trips to pit road during that time. So do we continue to see this type of strategy when the third stage begins, or do you then basically just try and go for broke, show what you've got, since you know that there's not just one pit stop between you and the checkered flag, there's actually 2?
I don't think you're going to have this type of saving on the last stint of the race, just because you're going to have at least 2 sets of tires remaining, and you're going to have 2 pit stops. So you know what? There's not enough cars in this race to probably warrant a caution. So you're probably going to pit twice, put tires on both times, and you're going to go to the end.
All right, well, we see Dylan Stipe ducking onto pit lane there, so a little bit of strategy possibly taking place midway through this second stage. Tom, we'll let you get back at it. Best of luck, and maybe we'll talk to you here a little bit later on.
Yeah, it'd be fun to talk to you guys again. We'll see what happens, but thank you for letting me know Stipe hit pit road, because that's my cue to go on pit road.
All right, so we'll be keeping an eye on that there as see when the 54 does eventually duck onto pit lane, but a good battle up here for the race lead. Belmonte did get around Brian Sibry for a brief moment. Sibry passed him back. Belmonte trying to charge back up to his bumper once more. Dylan Stipe did lose a lap coming to pit lane, but we'll see with the fresh tires if he's going to be able to gain that back. There's Tom Bourne coming to pit road along with the 72 of Tim Hendry.
Yeah, Tom got me wondering when he said some guys blew tires or whatnot. I probably should have asked him what tire if he knew. But judging by how these cars are handling, it's probably the rear tires. They're probably not actually blowing from tire wear, but blowing because they're heating them up so much and sliding around. That is the only thing that could probably happen, was the Tom having 40% left on his tires, I think is what he said. So if it were me, I would probably be blowing that rear tire if I was out there, because I race just like that, I hear. So as Belmonte's actually coming on pit road now as well.
I was going to say, with a number of drivers hitting pit lane just outside of the top 5, does that force the hand of the top 5 drivers, especially these guys up here at the front of the field, to have to come down pit lane? And with Belmonte coming to pit road, I would assume that might be the answer yes for a couple of these guys. Belmonte pitting from the second position as we have 30 laps to go this next time by in the second stage. And looks like Sibry's coming in.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that Tom said he was going to pit there. I mean, if he was going to pit with them in the beginning, I don't know why he was going to save tires, unless he didn't take tires. I think no, he did not take tires. So, yeah, maybe it was a good call. Now I'm just curious. Well, Brandon King's actually pitting. I was supposed to ask. I wonder what he was going to do. So Brandon King's going to pit, and probably this next fuel run till next 30 laps, he's probably going to put that in full gear and try and race them back down.
Looks like David Castelli also coming to pit lane in the 7. Race lead has been turned over to Gary Peck. Jesse Powers in the 32 just behind him. Peck running low. He might be coming to pit road this time. Nope, he stays out. I noticed the 33 of Brian Sibry, when he came to pit lane, he was almost parked in the middle of the racetrack when he started to slow down to come onto pit road. So I'm assuming that apron's pretty treacherous, pretty slick for these guys, and they're trying to utilize as much banking as possible to point that race car towards the pit road entry.
Yeah, I think he made a last-minute decision on pitting, because he entered turn 3 like he was going to run the top, and I think at last minute he braked and the car got tight, and he had to really, really slow the thing down to get that to turn. So might have been a last-minute decision there on him.
And we saw Brian Sibry and Justin Belmonte. They were nose to tail before Belmonte dove onto pit lane. However, Belmonte was behind Sibry at the time. Now, as things are going to be cycling around, this is the battle for third place, albeit these drivers 1 lap down, just barely 1 lap down, as there's the 2 race leaders up ahead. But Belmonte now cycles ahead of Brian Sibry. So 1 lap difference, but not much in it. Maybe gained at the most 5-6 car lengths over the 33.
Yes, a little bit, but I would say 1 lap difference would work, but judging by how Belmonte was still keeping pace with 33 on equal tires and still a little bit faster than him, unless the 33 saves his stuff here, that 1 lap's not really going to make a difference. That 12 car is really, really fast on the long run, even without saving.
Gary Peck and Jesse Powers here. What's the strategy got to be for them? Because they're the only drivers that were on the lead lap at the time the pit stops began that have elected to stay out. Yes, they've got most of the other drivers in the field 1 lap down, but they're putting themselves in a disadvantage speed-wise. They more than likely would end up finishing out this second stage off the lead lap with no guarantee that they would be the lucky dog when the stage caution comes out.
Yeah, I would say they're probably hoping for a caution, but with this many cars left, I don't think that's what they're doing. Unless they have an extra set, and they're going to take him here when they pit. I'm not sure about this call. I don't know if I agree with this one. But yeah, the only thing I got to think of is they have 4 sets left, and they'll have 3 for the final stage, unlike the rest of the guys who, when they're going to pit at the end of the stage, only have 2 left. So that might be what they're doing. I would personally hope that that's what they're doing. Yeah, they take these tires here, they could easily, in 20 or so laps, re-catch these guys. As we get a car spinning, and he corrected the 7, I believe.
Yes, it is. David Castelli, you saw that smoke there on the back straight away. Castelli was running in the 6th position. Had just come to pit road a couple of laps ago. And Powers from the 2nd spot. Getting down to 55 miles per hour. Getting down for his pit box. Gary Peck now the last driver that has to come down pit road. Let's see if we can quickly drop back here and see what happened to David Castelli off of turn 2. Obviously made a lot of contact with the front end. I'm going to assume into that wall on the back straightaway. I think he actually missed the safer barrier as well. He hit flat out concrete. Oh man, he just got loose. Tried to save it, gets the outside wall and then down into the inside wall. Hard, heavy impact for Castelli. No caution, however, as it was down pretty much off the racing surface and really no oncoming traffic either. We saw the race leaders coming into the vicinity, but that was after he had gotten the car refired and was leaving the scene. Gary Peck from the race lead onto pit road, so this should turn the race lead now over to the points leader, Justin Belmonte, who's got 0.8 of a second back to Brian Sybry.
Yeah, and I will point out that Jesse Powers did not take tires, so they were probably hoping for a caution, so they definitely do not have an extra set. Gary Peck did not take tires also, so they were just hoping for a caution. Unusual with the amount of cars left, but they took a chance.
Well, the good news for both of them is that the field got so spread out, they are, at least for the time being, going to cycle still on the lead lap. Powers in 4th and Peck in 5th. There's going to be about 20 laps to go here in this second stage the next time that Belmonte comes around. So now for Powers and Peck, they're going to have to hope that their very worn out tires are going to be able to keep them on the lead lap before the stage caution comes out, as Brian Sybry, slideways out of turn 2, had to use all of that racetrack as well as some of the back straightaway apron to gather that machine back up. Now, he only has 8 laps on those tires. Actually, no, I think he might have actually just gone with fuel only. So he would have about, 40 laps on those tires. Never mind. I was gonna say, if he's got 8-lap fresh tires, why is he sliding so much? But if he's got 40-lap old tires, then that makes sense why he would be nearly losing that thing out of turn 2.
Yeah, looking at lap times right now, Tom is definitely picked it up. He's about 0.2 faster than Belmonte right now, and he's also in 3rd after the pit stops have cycled through, so he definitely made his spots back up. Brandon King right now is running 2.5 faster than Belmonte. Not nearly as fast as he was the last stage, so I expect Tom, if Tom can pick it up a little bit better, I don't know if Tom's going to catch the 12 here before stage end.
Yeah, he's got about 19 laps to work with and about 6.5 seconds between himself and the race leader. A little more than 4 seconds before he would even get up to second place Brian Sybry. So not certain he has enough time to be able to get up there, but certainly we'll see what happens here, especially if Sybry continues to have those heart-stopping moments off of turn 2. Belmonte, for the time being, though, enjoying 2.5 seconds between himself in the 33. Belmonte looking to pick up what I believe would be his 5th stage win on the season.
man, Cybery is struggling right now. Off the corner, you can just see him bobble. He heated up them rear tires, and they are not happy with him.
And he continues to run that top line through 1 and 2, and then way up almost against the wall through 3 and 4. And there he is, just again sliding. And you said it earlier, Shane, you run that top line, you run the risk of those rear tires wearing more so than the front tires, and that takes away that rear grip on corner exit.
Yeah, because you're just carrying so much speed, and you're still turning, especially if you run the middle like he is now. You're still turning, but you're carrying more speed. And like you saw off turn 2, you just heard it rev right up and just got sideways. So
Like,
he probably can't run the bottom now because he heated up his tires too much.
Mike Tellier in the 97 is on pit lane. I believe he came down for a regularly scheduled stop, but he's actually spent a little bit of extra time on pit lane as well to maybe get some more damage repaired on his machine, and why not? Right now, pretty much has solidified down that 10th position, 11 laps down. So just taking the opportunity, making sure he can maybe get that thing with a little bit more speed in it here, preparing for the third and final stage. Things are really spread out here in the field right now. 2.5 seconds from first back to second, another 3.5 seconds from second back to third, another 1.5 seconds back to fourth place, and then over 3 seconds back to the 5th position. Right now, the closest battle on track is over 1.5 seconds, and that's between 3rd and 4th as well as 7th and 8th. So everybody, for the most part, just kind of riding this out here till the end of Stage 2. So as Justin Belmonte shows the way here at Atlanta, we're going to step aside for another commercial break, be back here for the conclusion of Stage 2, heading into the third and final stage here for the Clutch Drop Racing Series. You're not going to miss a thing. We're going to go FRN side by side.
Welcome, race fans. This is Paul Page, the voice of IndyCars. And today we're excited to present another IndyCar event brought to you by the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. From the Unzers to Mears, Foyt, and Andretti, now it's Corley, Peterson, Davies, Gardner, and Team. You can expect high speed, incredible wheel-to-wheel action, and intense drama that you could only get in an IndyCar. So sit back and enjoy your favorite drivers from all over the world take the track. Dark Horse IndyCar drivers, start your engine. Welcome, race fans. This is Paul Page, the voice of IndyCars. And today we're excited to present another IndyCar event brought to you by the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. From the Unzers to Mears, Foyt, and Andretti, now it's Corley, Peterson, Davies, Gardner, and Team. You can expect high speeds, incredible wheel-to-wheel action, and intense drama that you could only get in an IndyCar. So sit back and enjoy your favorite drivers from all over the world take the track. Dark Horse IndyCar drivers, start your engine. Welcome, race fans. This is Paul Page, the voice of IndyCars. And today we're excited to present another IndyCar event brought to you by the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. From the Unzers to Mears, Foyt, and Andretti, now it's Corley, Peterson, Davies, Gardner, and Team. You can expect high speeds, incredible wheel-to-wheel action, and intense drama that you could only get in an IndyCar. So sit back and enjoy your favorite drivers from all over the world take the track. Dark Horse IndyCar drivers, start your engines. Welcome, race fans. This is Paul Page, the voice of IndyCars. And today we're excited to present another IndyCar event brought to you by the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. From the Unzers to Mears, Foyt, and Andretti, now it's Corley, Peterson, Davies, Gardner, and T. You can expect high speeds, incredible wheel-to-wheel action, and intense drama that you could only get in an IndyCar. So sit back and enjoy your favorite drivers from all over the world take the track. Dark Horse IndyCar drivers, start your engines.
Welcome back here to race 19 of season 2 of the Clutch Drop Racing Series. Looking back here from Brian Sybry, a brewing battle for second place here, closing in on the end of stage 2.
Yeah, Thompson running about half a second faster than the 33 and about equal with the 12. So his, strategy of saving tires is where, 33, he's gonna save it. What a save by that guy! But he's been angering those rear tires his whole entire run. So he is just waiting for these next 5 laps to be over with.
About the second or third time here in this second stage alone that we've seen him have to use a lot of racetrack on the back straightaway to gather up that machine. Tom Bourne going to easily move on by him and pick up that position. During that commercial break, we were watching 2 drivers consistently running faster lap times here on this long run. Bourne was one of them. The other was Brandon King, and he's starting to reel in Gary Peck for 5th.
Yeah, Brandon King's running some really, really fast lap times right now. But it's just too little too late. He's going to have to change his strategy up here a little bit on this final stage if he wants to make that work.
This time around for Justin Belmonte, there's going to be 3 laps to go in stage 2. Belmonte looking to continue to rack up stage points and playoff points. Stage points to keep himself at the top of the overall point standings, and of course playoff points for the first round of the playoffs. That'll be upcoming in the next 5 races. Those next 5 races, however, there's going to be some off weeks in between, so it'll be about 7-8 weeks until the playoffs actually begin. And of course, with Mike Tellier running into some issues here tonight, Brian Sybry seeming to struggle with his race car for the time being. Justin Belmonte, with these playoff points he's going to gain here in stage 2, going to have a pretty sizable gap between himself and the rest of his competition when we get to New Hampshire next week.
Just got a couple more laps left in stage 2, so I'm curious to see what these guys are going to say here after this next caution. I guarantee you everyone's strategy is going to change because Tom Bourne's didn't work, Brandon King's did not work, neither did Jesse or Gary's. The only person that just stayed on schedule what he's been doing all race is Justin Belmonte, and he's got a 9-second lead on just about.
We'll be seeing the white flag this next time by. Brandon King completes the pass around Gary Peck, so move him up to the 5th position. That's another stage point he will gain when they come around this final time around Atlanta Motor Speedway to receive the green and white checkered flag, the completion of stage 2. 60 laps in the first stage, 60 laps in the second stage, and then the upcoming 95 lap third and final stage. But Justin Belmonte, he's been to victory lane twice this season. He's been the stage winner 4 times this year, and he's about to make it 5 as he's going to win the second stage here tonight at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Goes to Belmonte calling for the stage end So we're going to see the yellow here in the next few seconds.
And there it is. Tom Bourne crossing the start-finish line in second. Brian Cybery third. Jesse Powers and Brandon King going to be the top 5. And all the remaining drivers that are on the racetrack getting stage points: Peck, Hendry, Stipe, Castelli, and Tellier. That's your top 10, and the only drivers that are still running: Dylan Stipe. The stage cautions have really fallen in his favor. Stage 1 caution, he was a lap down, got the lucky dog. Stage 2 caution, the only car 1 lap down, and he'll get the free pass. But there's no stage cautions after this, so Dylan Stipe's got to make sure he keeps himself on the lead lap for this third and final stage. Pit stops upcoming, and pretty much everybody, when they came to pit road there during that cycle of green flag pit stops, did not change tires to keep those 2 extra sets here for this third and final stage. So they'll be taking on a set right now. Would love to know just how worn those tires are here, because we know that pretty much everybody in the field went the full 60 laps on the tires they started the stage with.
Yeah, I think after we talk to our stage winner, if we do, I want to hear Tom's opinion on that strategy call and see what he's going to do this final stage here, because I want to hear if he was either happy about that one, mad about that one. I'm curious to see what he's going to say.
It's going to be an interesting battle off pit road as well. Both Bourne and Belmonte were really close off pit lane at the end of stage 1. They line up nose to tail heading down pit road, with Belmonte in the second stall. Tom Bourne, the pole sitter, getting the number 1 pit stall. So we'll see who's going to win the battle off pit road. They're going to be racing to that yellow commitment line there on the bottom of your screen. Things look even for the moment. Belmonte, oh, he's going to be able to get out. Looks like ahead of Tom Bourne pretty easily by about 2 car lengths or so. Tom Bourne looked like he had some wheel spin there in that first pit box. And how about this call? Gary Peck staying out. Now, I'm going to assume here that this is just to lead a lap, and he'll come to pit road, because he's got 25 laps on his, well, actually 25 laps since he was on pit road, but about 65 laps on his tires.
Yeah, I think he's already led a lap, I think, or I might be thinking of a 60 car, but if he hasn't, yeah, it could be what he's doing, or he could be staying out and then pitting with 1 to go to get some extra fuel and try and stay as long as he could.
We'll try and, he's coming to pit road now. So that will turn the race lead back over to Justin Belmonte for this upcoming restart. And let's see if we can dial up Justin, our stage 2 winner. Hey Justin, it's Shane and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
What's happening?
Man, that car looks really good on the long run, but we've seen it be really good in the long run at other mile-and-a-halfs. Obviously, you've got that thing pretty well situated for any scenario, long run, short run. We're getting ready for this third and final stage. You got any strategy plan for this one, or is it basically play it by ear, see what the other drivers do?
No, we're going to repeat everything we've been doing this race. It's going pretty well so far. This thing's a beast on the long run. I mean, and you guys saw I can't even take credit for it. We got it hooked up this time.
Yeah, I was saying that at the end of the stage, I was like, Tom Bourne, Brandon King, a bunch of other guys changed up the strategy. I was like, but Justin, he stuck to what he's been doing all race long and 9-second lead. So you're going to stay with the same strategy and hope that these guys do the same thing and pull away?
Yeah, I was considering changing it up a little bit, because you can kind of break up this last segment a little bit differently, because our third final little stretch there is going to be a little shorter than the other 2, so you have a little bit of option there. But I mean, this thing's so good in the long run. I'm just going to keep at it and hope that I don't lose that gap somewhere, because it's pretty damn tough to pass once you get behind somebody.
Well, Justin, based off the numbers we've been given, it seems like you guys are going to be having to come to pit lane not once but twice here in this third and final stage. We saw you make green flag pit stops during stage 2. How difficult is this pit road to get onto?
Getting on's not too bad. It's getting off, especially if you're not taking tires like the previous 2 stages. That apron down there in turn 1 and 2 is slippery. That is tricky. I'm glad we didn't lose too much time down there.
All right, well, Justin, obviously, congratulations on your 5th stage win on the season. We're looking forward to seeing if maybe you can pick up win number 3 on the year and continue to extend your points lead. Best of luck.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
All right, so Justin's going to be leading us back to green. We'll be talking with Tom Bourne momentarily here, as he'll be lining up on the outside of row 1. Jesse Powers did gain some track position with his strategy, as he'll restart in 3rd, Brandon King in 4th, Tim Hendry and Gary Peck going to be the top 6. Brian Cybery lines up 7th, Dylan Stipe got the lucky dog, he'll restart in 8th. 3 laps down in 9th is Dylan Castelli, and 12 laps down in 10th. The last car running in Mike Tellier. Stage 3 here at Atlanta underway. 90 laps between these drivers and a chance at that checkered flag.
Tom Bourne, not a good restart. Hopefully he can, just stay in line, save his tires, but I think he's going to have to stay with that 12 if he wants a chance.
Now going to jump to the outside of the 32 of Jesse Powers. It's Belmonte going to enter high, then duck it low through the center of 3 and 4, trying to pull away. Bourne has cleared Powers for 2nd. Big run out of turn 4 for Tom Bourne, and he's immediately to the back bumper of Justin Belmonte. Now looks to the inside going into turn 1.
Yeah, Tom's in full attack mode. He's like, get the clean air, keep him behind me, and save my stuff. Don't get too far ahead. Just save my tires, because he knows that 12 car is a monster on this long run.
Mike Tellier back there, sliding, making some contact with the outside wall out of turn 2, but keeps it together. Brian Cybery looks like he might be in attack mode as well. He starts to close up to the back of Belmonte's Chevrolet, and Tim Hendry also coming along with him. So that's a couple of SRD teammates there in 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, I think Belmonte might be in trouble here. These guys know that he's good in the long run. They're going to want to get in front of him, let these tires wear out, because they know it's going to be hard to pass. I'm curious to see what the 33 is going to do. He's still running that middle to top line. If he made some adjustments, so he doesn't slide his tires, he might be able to make it work. But if he didn't, he's going to be right back where he was at the end of that last stage.
David Castelli, who's been out there logging laps, but missing the entire front grille area of his machine. He's back down pit road and might be about 5-6 laps away from losing the 9th position to Mike Tellier. As they continue to slide off of turn 2, a number of drivers that time I saw getting out of shape. Dylan Stipe was one of them, Tim Hendry was another, and Tom Bourne's got to be loving this right now with the fact that the battling is from 2nd place back to around the 6th position. Just how much is Tom Bourne using up in terms of those tires as he tries to open up the gap?
He's probably using all his tires. He's probably going to try and get a huge lead, short pit, stay ahead, then probably short pit again. That's probably the only thing he knows he's going to be able to do. He must know that he does not have the long race pace to stay with this 12 car. So he's doing what he's good at. He's really good at these 1.5 miles at pulling away and getting a huge gap. And just unfortunately in the past he hasn't had the timing with yellows or when they pit. Hopefully he can time it right and get this win, steal one here tonight.
You wanted to know about his strategy back in Stage 2. I'd love to know his strategy here in Stage 3. Let's see if we can dial him up right now as he's enjoying the clean air out in front. Hey, Tom, Shane, and Seth up here in the booth again. You got us?
Yeah, I got you guys.
All right, so right at the moment, nobody ahead of you, plenty of clean racetrack, and nearly a 1.5 seconds back to a pretty good battle for 2nd place. We saw that back in Stage 2, the strategy you were trying to pull off, it didn't really quite work out. You got yourself back up there to 2nd, but weren't able to be in the same zip code as the race leader. So how much of a differing strategy is it now here for the 3rd and final stage?
You know what? Like I said, we don't have that many cars left in the race. I highly doubt we're going to get another caution. We got 2 sets of tires left. We got 2 more pit stops to make. I'm putting them on, going full out as hard as I can for the rest of the race, and we'll see what happens. Like I said earlier, I'm not here to point my way into the chase. I'm here to win races. That's it.
Yeah, I just want to take credit. I know you so well. That's exactly what you're going to do. You did this in a lot of races. You pull ahead. You know what to do. I mean, hopefully you time this green flag pit stop correctly and stay ahead here and get this win, Tom.
So, too, I'm trying to get the first win for FRN. It's been a long time coming, if I can pull this off. The curse. I'm trying to break the curse here. But We'll see what happens.
Do you have like a number in your head of when you're going to be making these pit stops, or is it kind of play it by ear and see what the rest of the drivers behind you do?
Enough to where I can make it on one more pit stop after that. That's all I got. I don't have a number in my head. Just whenever the car wants to pit.
All right, well, you're looking good right now. You're holding that gap back to second place. We'll see if you can keep it up. Best of luck. Hopefully we'll talk to you in victory lane later on.
Thanks, guys.
Right now, the gap still about a second and a half back to Brian Cybery, who's got his hands full still with Justin Belmonte. Belmonte, we saw kind of fade back a little bit there. A number of drivers got around him when the green flag flew for the third and final stage. Now he's starting to make some forward progress, got back around Jesse Powers. Momentarily was challenging Cybery for second place, but now has opened up a little bit of a gap between his front bumper and the back bumper of that 33 here. It's going to be interesting to see who it is that's going to be mounting the charge to try and get the lead from Tom Bourne, because we know that Belmonte is good in the long run, but we also saw that Brian Cybery, before he was having his issues with the back end snapping out on him, that he was making some pretty good progress up on that top side.
Yeah, the 33 looks like he's at really good short run speed. Not as good as the 54. So, I mean, the 33 is going to be Tom's best friend here. If that 33 can keep that 12 car behind him for at least 10, about 10 more laps, I think Tom's in the catbird seat, because that 12 car she goes to the outside now. The 12 car is going to burn his stuff up, and he's going to notice a difference in his long run speed trying to recatch Tom. So, unless that 12 car stays calm, saves his stuff like he had been, or if he really tries to get past this 33 and 33 keeps giving him a hard time, it's going to be Tom's best friend here.
Now going to be Monte around the outside, clearing the second position from Brian Cybery. Jesse Powers trying to see if he can get to the right rear quarter panel of Cybery as well to take the third position. And it's interesting, the fact Atlanta, second time it appears on the schedule this season. Earlier on this year, it was all about fuel. Came down to who had the fumes to get back to the start-finish line, but here tonight, it's all about the tire strategy for these guys, and it's really just going to come down to two potential money stops. I'm in agreement with Tom Bourne with as few cars we have in the field. Very unlikely we're going to see a caution between now and the checkered flag. So with all these green flag laps upcoming, it's really just going to be all about pit road execution, I think, into whether you're going to win this race or not.
Yeah, and Tom's already 3/10 off the pace compared to Justin Belmonte, so definitely not what he wanted. Unless they're going to be pitting now, which is not going to happen, Belmonte should be there in the next 5-10 laps.
Yeah, right now, these drivers would be about almost halfway through a fuel run. They're about to complete their 17th lap since going back green. And, if we kind of use the top number we were given, about 37 laps on fuel, that would put us at 74 laps that they would be able to make it on just one stop. And that would put them about 16 laps short to the finish. So with that being said, with running our 18th lap right now, if you kind of did it in reverse order, they theoretically would still be able to make it on 2 stops here.
And if I were Tom, if he can mathematically do it, pit when that 12 car gets by him. Short pit him, get a big lead, and then short pit him again. But also try and keep him behind him as long as he can so he can make that field point.
It's like David Castelli did lose the 9th position to Mike Tellier, and it was not as much him sitting on pit road, but they actually did take his car back to the garage. So Castelli, in his first start on the season, is going to be finishing 10th place here tonight at Atlanta. Woo, that was close there in the first crook of the D-shaped front straightaway.
It's not the first time these two have gotten close or made contact. And we already know from earlier when I was talking to Tom, he is not too happy with the way that 12 car's been racing him. So if there's going to be a yellow, it's going to be with these two.
And I understand Belmonte's got the faster race car on the long run, but when you consider what these two are racing for, Tom Bourne's just out here to win this thing. Belmonte, on the other hand, a lot of things falling his way here tonight. He could very easily pick up his third win on the season. He's already got a stage win. A lot of the drivers behind him in points have been struggling here tonight, so why force the issue this early on when you could end up making contact with the 54 and wreck the both of you and turn what could be a really good night into a horrible end?
Yeah, Belmonte's just in a really good mindset right now. He knows he's got a faster car, and he knows he can just pass Tom. Wins right there. He ain't gonna take any time. He's underneath Tom right now.
As these two go side by side, it's going to help that third place car of Jesse Powers back there. We'll see if he might be able to get up here, make it a three-man fight for the top position. Still dead even between these two going into 1 and 2.
Really, really close racing. But how about Jesse Powers, though? That man, he has got a damaged race car, and he is up there fighting for this win.
It's only his 5th start on the season. His best finish so far this year was at Bristol Dirt, where he brought it home in the 3rd position. Right now looking to match that as that Brian Cybery enters into the picture as well. So throw a blanket over your top 4 drivers. They're all separated by less than half a second.
Yeah, and this is what Tom wants. Keep the 12 behind him. Get these other guys to get a run on the 12. We saw the 12 get a little loose off of turn 4, and Jesse looked in the turn 1, couldn't get the momentum. So that's Tom. That's what Tom wants right now.
We talked about the possibility of drivers, having those final 16 laps of the checkered flag, or maybe coming to pit road 16 laps into this run and then running on the final 2 pit stops to the checkered flag. Looks like strategy number 2 is what Brandon King is going for. He had just ducked onto pit road moments ago, and it looks like he went with a fuel-only stop, did not take on a set of tires, so he might have actually already used up one more set than most of the others, because we were of the assumption that pretty much everybody still had 2 sets waiting for them on pit road.
Yeah, unless he pitted earlier and took a set on accident. I don't see why he wouldn't take tires. Also, Belmonte is using his rear tires. Every time he tries, he's underneath Tom, or either exiting turn 2 or exiting turn 4. He is sideways.
Sideways. Brian Cybery once again off of 2.
Yeah, Belmonte's using his stuff up, and Tom is doing everything that he needs to make sure that he uses that guy's stuff up so he does not win this race.
Talking about Jesse Powers, too. Not only did he have that 3rd place run at Bristol Dirt, but actually his last start in mid-June was at another D-shaped 1.5-mile track at Texas, where he brought it home in the 6th position. So another guy that apparently is very good at the 1.5-mile configuration tracks, and Jesse Powers could very well be looking for his first victory on the season, especially with the dogfight we've seen between the 54 and the 12 for the top spot. They're going to get side by side again off turn 4, coming back to the start-finish line. Got another driver to pit lane. That is Mike Tellier in the 97.
Almost some contact again.
There's not a lot of daylight between those 2 cars, that's for sure. As that time, they both kind of ran the middle line. Look at the 12 trying to get the side draft off the left rear quarter panel, and almost some contact. If you're Jesse Powers, you just want to sit back there and watch how this plays out. I don't think you want to get up in the thick of this.
If I were me, I would definitely want to be in the thick of it. But now Jesse Powers knows he's in a good spot, and he's just hoping that they wreck, and then he just goes right by.
And that nearly was the wreck right there, as there was almost contact between the right front of Belmonte and the left rear of Tom Bourne. Both push up off of turn 2 again. You saw the 33 of Brian Cybery from the 4th position. He has ducked onto pit lane for his first pit stop of this 3rd stage.
Ooh, Belmonte sideways off of 4, stays in it, stays underneath Tom.
We ended up seeing Brandon King on pit lane not too long ago. He is running almost a full second to a second and 2/10 faster than these drivers up here at the front. So we'll see how pitting as early as he did is going to translate, whether it will translate into his favor or if it will keep him around where he was when he pitted. He pitted from the 6th position at the time. Right now, running 1 lap down in 8th. Brian Sybry also losing a lap with his pit stop. 6 drivers on the lead lap as Tom Bourne continues to keep Justin Belmonte in his rearview mirror. And Belmonte has tried on the inside line. You've got to wonder at some point, does Belmonte maybe try the top, try and go a groove higher than Tom Bourne?
He tried that earlier, but Tom held the high line. He knows it's what Belmonte wants. So Belmonte's going to go to the inside now again. Tom, I think he might get him here this time, unless he can pinch him and get him loose, but don't know.
Oh, he's going to try and clear himself off the corner. Yikes. I don't think he could have fit a sheet of paper between the front and rear bumper of those respective machines. Now crossing over is Tom Bourne into turn 1.
Tom's going to do the same thing. Don't. In the wall.
Oh, yep. Oh, I don't know. They might have gotten the wall. They might not have, but they certainly got into each other. Belmonte loses a ton of momentum. Bourne's going to keep the top spot. Power's going to move into second. You'd think these guys were racing for the win on the last lap, the way that they're leaning on each other, making contact with each other. They still keep it pointed in the right direction, however.
Yeah, they definitely got the wall. Tom's got some right front damage, so I don't know about Belmonte. Belmonte's car looks the same. He had damage already, so I can't really tell, but yeah, that's probably going to hurt both of them, and Jesse Powers is liking everything that he just saw.
Well, we may only have a few drivers left in this race and still a total of 60 laps to go, but the racing up front has been exciting, and still the top 3 all nose to tail here coming to the start-finish line. I gotta wonder, not only with that slide, but just the amount of side-by-side racing we've seen the last few laps, the last 10, 15 laps between Tom Bourne and Justin Belmonte. Who's using up their stuff more, or does it basically equal out?
Well, Tom's stuff's already gone, so he's just using up Belmonte's really using his stuff up to get past Tom, because he knows once he get past him, it's over. We got a car in the wall behind them. The 22 hit the wall entering turn 3 on the apron, and we got pit stops.
Yep, that's going to be Belmonte and Jesse Powers, both hitting pit lane from 2nd and 3rd, respectively. I thought for a moment there Belmonte was going to try and make another charge at Tom Bourne, and that's why the 32 moved to the inside to let him on by, but apparently he wanted Belmonte ahead of him before they ducked onto pit road. So a little bit interesting there, giving up a spot when they were both going to just hit pit lane anyway, and I think the hand's been forced on the 54. Tom Bourne comes down pit road this time.
Yeah, I like that call by Belmonte. He's gonna probably cycle ahead of the 54, and knowing how fast that 54 is burning his tires, I don't see, unless Tom can get out really close to him, I don't see Tom getting back by him.
Gary Peck also in the 22, turns the race lead over to Tom Hendry. First time, I believe, that Hendry has led a lap here today. Has kept himself on the lead lap, and a very quiet day for that driver, and been a good points day as well. Has gained some very valuable stage points here, and right now en route for at least a top 10, maybe a top 5, depending on how all of this cycles out. Speaking of cycling out, it's going to be Brian Sybry who's going to be the race leader when all is said and done. Remember, he made his pit stop about 7 laps ago.
Tom Bourne coming off turn 2 now on pit road. Belmonte is around him.
And around Belmonte was Jesse Powers. And I believe that Powers went with fuel only. Belmonte, Bourne, Peck, they all took on a set of tires. So there is going to be a huge difference in speed between the drivers in 3rd and 4th and the drivers from 5th back to 7th, because Brandon King and Jesse Powers, looks like both of them went with fuel only on their pit stops.
That's an interesting call. I'm not sure. He's probably hoping for a late race caution, judging by how the Belmonte and Tom have been racing. That's probably what he's expecting. Brandon King's still out there. He's still doing his saving tire strategy, and I don't know if that's going to work without a caution.
Right now, he has only about 0.7 of a second back to the fresh tires of Belmonte, Bourne, and Powers, so they are going to eat him up pretty quick. Hendry now on pit road in the 72, and that's going to turn the race lead over officially to Brian Sybry.
Ooh. Tom almost spun that car off of turn 2.
And there's the exchange for third. Belmonte getting around the 89 of Brandon King. Tom Bourne about to close up and do the same to move up into fourth place. How about this call by Brian Sibry, though? I mean, obviously, we're going to, I think, see his over 9.5 second lead start to dwindle, since there's about 6 to 7 lap fresher tires behind him in Belmonte and Tom Bourne. They've shown some pretty good pace here as well. But Brian Sibry, he did pit within the fuel window where he can make it the rest of the way on one more pit stop, and it's gotten him clean air now. Not a whole lot of traffic as well, so he's not having to run that top line like we saw him run earlier in search of clean air to the nose. He's able to run down there on the bottom of the racetrack, so I think that this really worked out for him. The question, though, is on that final pit stop, will he still be able to keep the race lead, or will Belmonte and Tom Bourne have reeled him in by then?
He might. Belmonte's only running about half a second faster than him, depending, because he's probably going to be pitting the next 20 laps. If they can catch him and they don't catch him within 20 laps, it could very well be the winning call for that 33 team. So that is actually a really, really smart call by him.
We'll see what Brian Sibry will be able to do here as, yep, this battle for second place is closed up between Belmonte and Tom Bourne. I'll tell you what, talk about two entirely different races too. Brian Sibry, last time out earlier on this season, started the race in the 5th position, didn't lead any laps, and he finished out of the race in the 17th position. Right now, leading this event, looking for his 2nd win on the season. Belmonte having to deal with the lap machine of Mike Tellier, Tom Bourne trying to close up to him, and it's kind of looking like Tom Bourne's having a little bit of trouble getting up to the back bumper of the 12. I'm almost wondering if he might be trying a little bit too hard to get to the Belmonte's back bumper, just based on the fact that we talked about before these drivers made pit stops. Tom Bourne realizing that 12's got that long run pace, and Tom wants to make sure he's the one in front, controlling, the dirty air getting to the nose of Belmonte's machine.
Yeah, and I also think that right front damage is also hurting Tom, and Belmonte's definitely not saving like he has been, so yeah, Tom needs to get in front of him here if he wants a chance. But judging by how he was racing Belmonte, or how Belmonte was racing him, it's not going to be easy. It is going to be a dogfight. We're going to probably see some short track racing here with these two on 1.5 miles.
Well, both of these drivers, as they battle for the 2nd position, they are rapidly closing in on Brian Sibry. Last time we checked, it was about 9 seconds. It's now almost 6 seconds between Sibry and Belmonte. Right now, it's looking like the 2nd and 3rd place drivers are running anywhere from 7 to 9 tenths faster each lap than the race leader. And Tom Bourne close to the back bumper there of Belmonte, runs about a groove and a half higher there through 3 and 4. Looks to get the run on the front straightaway. This battle for 2nd place in about maybe the next 10 laps could very well be the battle for the race lead once again.
Belmonte cuts him off. Can only do that only a few times before you get turned.
Ooh, you see right there, looks like Belmonte got a little bit free on entry. It kind of helped him, though. It pointed his car down to the inside through the center of the corner, and he'll open up a little bit of daylight between himself and Tom Bourne for the moment. It's the best battle on the track right now. We do have a possible battle that'll be taking place for 4th position in a couple of laps. That's where Brandon King, who's on very old tires, is trying to hold the 4th position. Gary Peck, however, who is on fresh Goodyears, trying to reel him in for that spot.
Yeah, what Belmonte was doing there is he's letting Tom enter on the bottom when he's arcing and coming down. So when he comes down, he takes the air off the nose of that 54, and it just gets him tight, and it worked there in turn 3 and 4, and Tom lost a lot of time.
There's Gary Peck getting around Brandon King for 4th place. Brian Sibry, not sure how much he's looking at the interval between himself and 2nd place, but it is now 4 seconds back to Justin Belmonte. Belmonte has opened up about 4 or 5 car lengths between himself and Tom Bourne. And we'll see if that continues to grow or if Bourne can close it back up. in this battle for the second position, potentially the battle for the race lead, as it's now less than 4 seconds between these two and the race leader, Brian Cyber. As a matter of fact, looking on board here with Justin Belmonte, you can see that white dot up there into turn 3. That is the race leader, so it's about 3/4 of a straightaway that Cyber has over Belmonte for the top spot.
I would expect Cyber to probably pit anytime after lap 178. Because I think Tom was saying, or you were saying, that they go about 37 laps on a tank, I believe.
That's what we were told, at least for a single car run. Yep.
So 37 laps was lap 178. So if they don't get to him by lap 178, Cyborg has got a very, very good chance here.
It's going to be interesting to see there about the 89 at Brandon King as well. I'm a little confused because we thought he had taken tires on back in stage 1 when he was able to pick up the stage win. He told us nope, he hadn't taken on any tires. And pretty much everybody looked like they had... There were varying strategies, but they all were similar in terms of whether they took tires or not. So we thought everybody had at least 2 sets of tires available to them here in this third and final stage, but 2 drivers did not take on tires in this first round of green flag pit stops here in stage 3, Brandon King and Jesse Powers. So to your point, somewhere along the line, they might have accidentally taken on a set of tires, leaving them with only 1 set here for the conclusion of this race, and they will be undoubtedly taking on that final set on their final pit stop. Brian Cybery has reeled Dylan Stipe in. Dylan Stipe fell a lap down at the end of stage 1, fell a lap down at the end of stage 2. Those stage cautions gave him the free pass to get back on the lead lap, but now very unlikely we're going to have any cautions here for the remainder of this race, and he is going to lose a lap to the race leader. Right now in the 8th position is Dylan Stipe, a driver that was in the Final Four for the championship 1 season ago.
Give Dylan Stipe some consistency there. About every 55, 60 laps in a run, he's getting lapped, so he's staying pretty consistent.
He is.
Say that.
There's no doubt about that. Dylan Stipe's still going to get a good points day, despite the fact that right now he is running 1 lap down and 8th of the 9 drivers that are still on the racetrack. But he came into this race 5th in the overall standings. He got some stage points here in the first 2 stages tonight, and very easily could be making a case for himself to at least point his way into the playoffs. Don't forget, too, that when Dylan Stipe made it into the Final Four last season, it was because he got his first win during the playoffs.
Tom's in the wall. Tom's
Whoa!
racking up here, too.
And hard into the inside wall for the 54. A lot of left side damage added onto his Toyota Camry. He kept it pointed the right direction, but that could be it. Yep, he's on pit road, and this is going to be, I believe, outside of the window to be able to make it the rest of the way. It would be really, really a lot of fuel saving that he would have to do to make it from this point on, but I don't think it's fuel that's a concern for him right now. I think it's just coming down, trying to get that thing repaired.
That's very unfortunate for Tom. He was trying his hardest to stay with that 12 car and just pushed it a little too much there off of 2 and got the wall.
Atlanta has not been kind to him this season. He was about a lap away from picking up the victory earlier on this year before running out of fuel into turn 3 on the final lap. And here tonight, one of the maybe 3 strongest cars of the evening is not going to be finding victory lane here tonight after some pretty extensive contact with both the outside and inside wall just a few laps ago. Brian Cybery is now under fire for the top position. Justin Belmonte, who was 9 seconds back about 20 laps ago, is now just a car length off his back bumper and looking to the inside here heading into turn 1.
And Cyrie can make it here from this lap on, so he's either going to try and hold up the 12 and go a little bit further, or he's going to pit now. If I were him, I would hold him up as much as I can and then pit immediately after he passes me.
Now, if you're Belmonte, if Cyber dives onto pit road, do you come down with him to make sure that your tires are equal?
Belmonte will probably come the following lap, if anything. Does not want to run down another 9-10 seconds.
Took about 22 laps for Justin Belmonte to reel in Ryan Cybery and that 9-second deficit. these drivers do come to pit lane here in the next couple of laps, there's going to be, what, about, let's give about 30 to 35 laps to go. I'm not necessarily certain if it took that few of laps for Belmonte to reel the race leader in. I'm not sure if Cybery can be able to hold off Belmonte, but I applaud the strategy nonetheless to get himself that track position.
Well, the difference would be when he pit the first time, it was only a 26 lap difference. If he pits this time, it's about 30 lap difference on tires. And if Belmonte stays out for the next remaining 7 laps till empty, we'd have a much bigger lead than he did the first time, so it would take longer. So we'll have to see if he pits this time.
And it looks like Tom Bourne still sits on pit road. Let's actually go back here real quickly and see what happened to him off of turn 2. Tough break there for Tom, who was running up inside of the top 3 for most of the day, was running 3rd place actually at the time that he had his problem. He and Justin Belmonte were just moments away from catching up to Brian Cybery to make it a 3-man fight for the top position with the final pit stop looming. And it just looks like that car, I don't know if it got loose or if it just didn't turn off the corner, but it rode up there into the outside wall, off the corner. Off the wall it comes and pancakes that left side.
He just kissed the outside wall with his right rear, and it flung him in. And the way the sim works, it's like bumper cars. It's nothing like real life. It just sends you to the inside wall, and there was really nothing he could do.
And he has taken his machine to the garage area, so it looks like he will more than likely finish this race out in the 9th position. And we got
Belmonte's on pit road.
They're both coming to pit road. Belmonte had just taken the lead from Cybery. He ducks on to pit lane. Cybery going to follow him down. And so this, I think, right now plays into the hands of Belmonte and the fact that both of these drivers are going to be on equal footing with the Goodyears underneath them, and Belmonte is going to have the track position over the 33. Brandon King just made a pit stop. There he is leaving pit road. Gary Peck's going to stay out a little bit longer, as will Tim Hendry in the 72. Jesse Powers just now hitting pit lane in the 32 machine. So for Brandon King and Jesse Powers, they're finally being able to come down pit road and take on their final set of tires. They were fuel only back on the last green flag pit stop.
Tom had officially DNF'd from this race. It's unfortunate.
Tough break there for him. That's going to help Mike Tellier, though, as he's going to pick up that 8th position in the next 7 laps or so. Mike Tellier, at this point last season, was a 3-time winner. He's yet to go to victory lane this season, but he is 2nd in the overall points. A big reason for that is he's been racking up a lot of stage points and been able to still finish consistently up inside of the latter half of the top 5 and inside of the top 10. So the points have been there. The wins just haven't been seeming to come to him just yet. But he's still keeping himself at least in contention for a spot in the playoffs.
Belmonte and Cybery almost just destroyed the 4 car off of turn 2, sorry.
And I saw the 32 of Jesse Powers moving awfully low there as well to possibly avoid an issue. As Belmonte, Cybery battling for 3rd position right now. Jesse Powers 1 lap down behind them, and Dylan Stipe back on the lead lap in the 5th position, but he's only about maybe 7-8 laps away from when he's going to have to duck onto pit road, so he'll probably lose that lap back to the race leader, which could end up being either Belmonte or Cybery, because Cybery, he's not going away quietly. Big run there into 3. Diamonds the corner there out of turn 4 and gets a nice run to the start-finish line. He's going to challenge Belmonte for the top spot here with 30 to go.
Yeah, Cybery's really, really good in the short run. If he can do what Tom was doing, get in front of him and hold him back, it's going to be a fight.
Ooh, got a little loose there on the bottom did Brian Cybery. Trying to stay to the left rear quarter panel, can't quite do it this time. Belmonte's going to give him the bottom, however. Belmonte likes that middle line through 3 and 4. Cybery trying to get back to the throttle sooner. Can he clear himself up here at the start-finish line? Not quite.
Belmonte is flirting with that turn 4 wall. And
Cyber-
Cyber's clear right now. He's
He
clear.
is. For the moment, will he try and move up in front? He will. Oh, little
bump.
contact there. Almonte thought about the crossover, but actually that little bit of contact helped the 33 because it stifled any chance for Belmonte to get momentum to cross over to the inside. So Cybery moves into second. We're still waiting for Tim Hendry to pit from the race lead, but right now you're looking at what is potentially the battle for the race win with less than 30 laps to go. And how about Jesse Powers? I mean, talk about having the best seat in the house. He got to see that dogfight between Belmonte and Tom Bourne earlier, and he was sitting front row center there in that battle between Cybery and Justin Belmonte.
Yeah, and he's probably just wondering to himself, he's like, how have these guys not crashed yet? He's like, I just need a yellow. He's probably got an extra set, and that's probably what he wants. He's just like, come on, guys.
Tim Hendry, I think he might be of the strategy trying to stretch it as far as possible just in case he is able to get a yellow flag. He still can be out there for another 9-10 laps before he actually has to hit pit lane. The other driver that still has to pit is Dylan Stipe. He's about 3 to 5 laps away from when he has to duck on a pit road. I think both the 72 and the 4, while it doesn't seem likely, I think they're hoping against all hope that they might get themselves a lucky break, get a caution, be able to come down, take on their final set, and trap a lot of these drivers with anywhere from 10 to 15 lap old tires with less than 25 laps to go.
Man, if a caution came out right now, the 33 and the 12 will be so heartbroken because I think Jesse Powers would get the lucky dog, if I'm looking at that correctly. Yeah, he would get the lucky dog. He would put a set on. Gary Peck would put a set on. Brandon King. Dylan Stipe up in fourth, staying out as well, trying to get his lap back the hard way.
Hendry really having an issue there off of turn 2. That car got loose on him. We'll see if he might be ducking for pit road this time by. As Dylan Stipe looks like he might be slowing. He's at least letting some cars on by. Brandon King and Gary Peck, who are obviously faster on fresher tires. Stipe just trying to hang on, trying to hope for a caution. Hendry continuing to show the way, and the battle for second place has a little bit of daylight between it for the time being. Cybery's been able to open up about maybe 3 car lengths back to Justin Belmonte. Belmonte, on the other hand, though, might be lying in wait as they make their way around the Mike Tellier machine, who just picked up the 8th position off of Tom Bourne. So Tellier, who back at the beginning of this race had early damage and could have very likely finished 15th, 16th place. A little bit of a silver lining in the gray cloud early on in this one, is going to finish up inside of the top 10. Looks like it's going to
Tellier's
be here
in the wall
in the 8th
in front of the
position.
leaders. Ooh, good job by Belmonte to get away from that.
Tellier keeps it going. Everybody using that wide back straightaway to fan out and get around him. That actually appeared to have hurt the 33 of Brian Cybery, though, because Belmonte has pulled up to his back bumper. He's going to duck to the inside. Cybery tries to throw the block. And Cybery's caught on, much like Tom Bourne did earlier on, the fact that Belmonte likes that middle to high line. That's where Cybery's running right now. But remember, Cybery was running maybe the highest in the corners that we saw the entirety of this race back in stage 2. And here's the race lead exchange. Oh, 3 wide for the top spot as Hendry moves low. Cybery went to the top side. Belmonte thought about going up the middle 3 wide.
Jesse Powers had a little bit of a scare there as well. He almost got loose. He's always loose right now.
Whoa! Jesse Powers,
it might
hang
bring
on
out
to
a
it.
caution. It could. It might. He's on the apron now.
No caution going to fly as he is out of harm's way. Jesse Powers spinning it out there on the back straightaway. Backing the car back up onto the racing surface, but I don't think there's any oncoming traffic. There was a big wad of cars there that included Mike Tellier, Jesse Powers. You also had the fresh tires of Dylan Stipe in that vicinity as well. There he is. He was just on pit road moments ago, 2 laps down, trying to get one of those laps back the hard way right here. 20 laps to go here at Atlanta as Jesse Powers on pit lane after that long spin down the back straightaway. Saw that the machine of Tim Hendry was on pit lane now. So that's his final pit stop of the day. And nose to tail for the top spot here. So if you're Justin Belmonte, you've got 19 laps to work with. How long do you wait?
He's not waiting. He's going right now. He got a huge run off of turn 4. And he clears the 33.
No fight put up by Brian Cybery there as Belmonte goes back to the point. Justin Belmonte looking for his 3rd win on the season, which would tie him for 2nd most this year. Braxton DeWeese has the most with 4 trips to victory lane so far this season. Cybery's not going to go away quietly, though. Runs the inside line there through 3 and 4, tried to get a run, but Mike Tellier is actually going to get around him, it looks like.
Yeah, Tellier's not going to play nice.
As these two battle side by side, that's going to allow Belmonte to pull away. And I'm trying to remember, I believe that...
Cybery.
I think Cybery and Tellier, these two had a little bit of a beef with each other back at Martinsville or Richmond, one of the short tracks earlier on this season. Gotta wonder if maybe that might be playing into Mike Tellier trying to hold off Brian Cybery from being a factor in this race win.
Yeah, Belmonte just came over the radio and was telling Tellier, basically get out of the way. We're having a good battle. You're 10 laps down. But looking at the points wise, Tellier second in the points. Person that's behind him in points is that 33 car. So Tellier is not going to play nice. He's not going to let that 33 catch him in points by any means necessary.
Yeah, pretty interesting. Right there in your camera shot are the top 3 in the point standings. Belmonte, the points leader, 5 points back Mike Tellier, and 51 points back Brian Cybery. And Cybery looks like he's a little frustrated with the 97 as well, as he drives to the inside of Mike Tellier. Tellier has been out of shape a couple of times there in front of Cybery also. You gotta wonder when the 33 is finally going to have enough here, is because, that is actually opening up that gap now to 0.7 of a second.
Yeah, Tellier's damage is making his car so fast in the corners, but not fast on the straightaways, and that's the only reason why Cybery's having a hard time getting by him, is he might be able to clear him here.
Got the inside advantage into turn 1. He's clear by the time they get to the first corner. Ooh, but Mike Tellier drove it really deep there on the top side. He'll stay alongside and actually clear himself again as the 33 got loose off of turn 2.
You also got to think that Tellier has not had a good race tonight, so he is just enraged with this race, wants to get it over with, and is giving nobody any respect.
Well, Jesse Powers, we saw his spin on the back straightaway. He didn't make a whole lot of contact with the inside wall, a little bit of contact with the left front. However, he still sits on pit road after we saw him have to come down the pit lane about 9 laps ago. If he continues to sit there till the end of this race, that's going to be another spot that Mike Tellier can pick up. He's only 7 laps behind Powers for that 7th position. So we'll follow up on that here in the closing stages of this race. Going to be 12 laps to go for the 12 car of Justin Belmonte. There's only 4 drivers on the lead lap right now. Belmonte, the leader, Cybery in second. How about Gary Peck? Nice strategy call here for him tonight. Right now running in the 3rd position. And Brandon King has had that rather unorthodox pit strategy here tonight. Had his first stage win on the season back in stage 1. And right now holding down. Last car on the lead lap in 4th place.
I'm actually a little surprised Brandon King has been up there. I don't know if he was just over-saving his tires or what, but judging how fast he was in the earlier stages, a little surprised by this one.
Well, there's a number of drivers with only 5 races left in the regular season after tonight that have not found victory lane yet. Is Brian Cybery. That time, that car was going to snap around on him in the center of the corner, and he was nearly losing that thing all the way to the exit of turn 2. But guys like Brandon King, Tim Hendry, Dylan Stipe, these are guys that have not been to victory lane yet this season, but they could very well, even here tonight, with the stage points they've been able to gather and the points that they'll get for their finishes here tonight, they could very well be heading into these final races of the season already locked in just based off of points with where they came into this race in the overall standings. So definitely the runs that a lot of these guys needed to make sure that they are going to be battling for that championship in about 7 weeks' time.
Yeah, looking at the points for Brandon King, there are 3 cars that are directly in front of him in the points that are not here tonight. So a 4th place finish is really, really going to help him go from 14th to possibly 11th in the point standings here.
Almonte, less than 10 laps to go here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Mentioned the fact that the last time we were here at Atlanta, Belmonte finished 1 lap down, back in the 7th position. Here tonight, he has been one of, if not the strongest car on the racetrack, especially on the long run. And, you mentioned this back when we talked with him at the conclusion of Stage 2, how everybody seemed to be trying different strategies and whatnot, trying to go outside the box, be a little bit more unorthodox, but not Belmonte. He had a plan, he has stuck to it, and he is definitely working it to perfection here en route to his 3rd win on the year.
Yeah, Belmonte's just in cruise control now and just wishing there's not going to be a yellow, but with not as many cars on the track, unless it's a single car spin, he's going to take this one very easily.
Tonight we ended up having 4 cautions. 2 of them were the stage cautions. The other 2 took place in the first 20 laps of this race. 17 drivers took the green flag to start tonight's event. At this point in time, with less than 10 to go, 6.5 here on the back straightaway, only 8 of them remain running. And right now, 4 of them on the lead lap. Mike Tellier is about a lap away from moving up to 7th place as Jesse Powers still sits on pit road. 6 laps to go here for Justin Belmonte. And obviously, Shane, we've seen races where you've had a commanding lead. When you've got these final laps coming down and there's nobody in your rearview mirror, there's no traffic up ahead, and you know that it's just a matter of time before you're coming around to see that white flag, what's going through a driver's mind at that point?
Well, for me, I just start to joke around with the guys in my Discord, get a little distracted, and then, just kind of distract my mind from how many laps are left. Because when you start thinking about, 5 laps, you start thinking, oh no, is there going to be a yellow? Who's around who's going to cause a wreck, and you start making more mistakes. So most drivers do that. But Belmonte, I think he is just, I think he's just hanging out, having a good time, not really stressing. But if you could see what's going on with this 33 car behind him, you might want to start stressing because that 33 has been close to just spinning out off of turn 2 right now, and he definitely does not want that.
He's been able to make his way around Mike Tellier, but he is over 3.5 seconds back from Justin Belmonte, and as you pointed out, has his hands full. Boy, I think, was his car even wiggling right there on the front stretch, heading into that first crook of the D-shaped front straightaways. So yeah, obviously, the back end of that car, very squirrely, probably those rear tires, the grip has gone away. I'm going to assume that some of that might have been with that fight he was having there with the lap machine of Mike Tellier. It's really affected him at the end of this long run coming to the checkers.
Yeah, that definitely didn't help. But we'll be seeing with the 33 car all race that he'll be really good in the short run, then he'll start getting a little bit loose, and then as the run goes on, those rear tires just do not last for that 33 car. Something's gonna change that setup when they come back here, but we're not gonna come back here. We're gonna have a new configuration probably next season. So as he just about wrecked again off of turn 2.
A great point. The fact that more than likely this is the final time that the Clutch Drop Racing Series drivers will be at the old configuration of Atlanta Motor Speedway. So a little bit of an added feather in the cap for Justin Belmonte if he indeed does close out this victory. The last driver to win at the old Atlanta surface here in CDR, as he's going to see the white flag this next time by. And I'll tell you what, Justin Belmonte got his first win on the season back at Darlington Raceway. And we saw even before that, week after week, he was very consistent. He was up there at the top of the point standings. He just could not put a crooked number in the win column. But after he got that first win, week after week, when we would talk to him finishing up in top 3, eventually getting his second win on the season, not that long after at Pocono Raceway. You can just hear the confidence level continue to rise in his voice, realizing that he has solid cars underneath him week after week. And he said this thing was locked back during stage 2. It's been unlocked here in stage 3. Win number 3 on the season for Justin Belmonte here tonight at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Brian Cyber's going to survive, still fighting with Mike Tellier there at the line. But he hangs on to that thing to finish second. Good for him. And Gary Peck with the top 3. Great strategy call by that team.
He hasn't even made it back to the start-finish line to complete a race. Now he does. Third place for him. Brandon King was actually starting to reel him down. He was only about a second and a half there from catching him for third place. King will finish in 4th, last car on the lead lap. Tim Hendry is going to bring it home with a 5th position as Justin Belmonte starts to burn them down, whatever tires might be left on that machine here on the front straightaway at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Not sure if Brandon King is congratulating the 22 or trying to wreck him. That was kind of interesting to see.
I believe, I have to double check, but I believe those two are teammates.
That would make sense then.
Yes, they are. They're both teammates out of NSM. So I don't think there's bad blood there. Well, we've seen teammates have fallouts before, but no, I think that was basically maybe a hey, if we had a couple more laps, I'd have been up there trying to take that podium spot from you. But I have to double check. I think that might be actually Gary Peck's best finish on the season. If that's the case, congratulations to him as Belmonte finishes up his burnout here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. He'll be heading to victory lane, and we'll be talking with him momentarily. Let's take a look at the finishing results from tonight's event, and only officially 7 of these drivers made it back to the checkered flag. Mike Tellier, the last of them. Only 4 drivers on the lead lap. Jesse Powers finished the race while on pit road. Tom Bourne, who had a strong machine here tonight, still salvages a top 10 run in 9th, and David Castelli there in 10th. But for the most part, these were the drivers that made it to the completion of stage 2. Everybody on down never even made it to the completion of the second stage. Landon Allers in his first start, finishing 11th. Matt Dyer after the victory last week at Road America in 12th. Another former winner in Alonso Chicano in 15th. Oscar Jensen, 3-time winner, down there in 17th. And a big points hit going to come the way of the 24 of David Durand, who was 6th in the overall standings coming into this one and ran into an issue, that big wreck with Chicano and Coleman over in turn 3 very, very early on in this race in the first 20 laps of tonight's event. Well, let's see if we can go down trackside and talk with our top 3 finishers. And let's kick things off here with the guy who brings it home in the 3rd position, one of the guys that played some pit strategy to have a good finish here tonight, Gary Peck. Hey Gary, Shane and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yes, sir.
Man, great run for you here tonight. The cautions, the pit strategy, everything seeming to really work out into your favor. You bring it home with a P3 here tonight at Atlanta Motor Speedway. How good does that feel?
It's pretty good. Of course, we want to be 2 spots better, but I'm glad our teammate at Haru Sports, Justin, won. So Jesse had a little bit of bad luck, but I'm P3. I'll take it. Points are points.
Now, Gary, obviously, we've seen that you've made a number of starts here this season, 8 in total, this being your 9th here tonight. Looking like you could very well be making a late charge to point your way up into the playoffs. Your first top 5 on the season here as well. So with only 5 races left in the schedule, what do you think the outlook looks like for this 22 to possibly be able to snag a last-minute spot in the playoffs?
Well, we're definitely needing the elusive win that we keep on just missing out on. We went to Pocono and I had a fast car there, but of course couldn't capitalize, got into a late race incident, and The only race that we have won was the All Star, and of course that doesn't count. So, but of course we're looking for a win. I'm just happy, of course, like I said, Justin's been on a tear lately, and as long as we can keep that rolling, I'll be happy.
Gonna see if my broadcast colleague here, Shane's got any questions for you.
Yeah, Gary, how was the racing tonight? Did you enjoy it? Was the setup where you needed to be? Because I saw you loose here and there, getting to the wall, entering turn three. How was that for you?
Early on in the run, it was fairly freed up. Once it started cooling off, uh, the car kind of came around. I think that if dirty air didn't play a factor as much at this place as it did, I think everybody would be a lot better. I mean, I think the racing would have been a little bit closer, but air is everything. If you're out front, you control the air and you control the race. So
Yeah,
Well,
it definitely
Gary,
was the case. Sorry.
didn't mean to cut you off there, Shane. But Gary, I mean, obviously a great run for you here tonight. Congratulations on your best finish of the season as well. Your first top 5 on the year. We're looking forward to seeing if this can carry that momentum for you here down the home stretch of this regular season and possibly get you up there into a playoff spot as well. But for now, we're going to give you the opportunity to thank some sponsors and do some shout outs.
just got to thank Vicious Graphics, Rick, Justin Belmonte, Jesse Powers, everybody at HAR. They've definitely put in the work in practices and helping with the setups every week. So we've been really pushing hard and very proud of everybody over there.
Gary Peck, P3 here tonight at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Once again, congratulations, Gary, and best of luck next week in New Hampshire.
You guys, have a good one.
Let's get our second place finisher here tonight, Brian Cybery. Hey, Brian, Shane, and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
How you guys doing?
I'll tell you what, if we had like an all-state good hands driver of the race, I think it'd have to be you, because I think you saved that race car more times here tonight than any other driver in the field. We saw you slideways so many times off of turn 2, sometimes in the center of the corner. Had your hands full, but it looked like that thing was still pretty fast. You had a shot there of winning this race, a pretty good fight there with Justin Belmonte, but what little more do you think you needed to be able to keep the 12 with you?
No, I was just talking to Justin, and my car was not good in dirty air. When I would go into one, and there was a car in front of me, it was like even if they're on the bottom, it's like their weight came off their nose and went all the way up to the wall, because I'd peek out and I would just push. So, yeah, I was trying to loosen it up on those old tires, thinking that the car would want to push on used tires during those first 2 stages. And, yeah, I was a couple times, I thought, man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep it underneath me. And then I kind of felt like I got it in a good spot for those 2 for stage 3. I knew we were going to get 2 sets of good tires, and it was just a hair loose on the last 5 laps of a run, but I was willing to deal with that.
It was interesting because looking back at the earlier Atlanta race this season, a teammate of yours, Jeremy Bouchy, goes to victory lane. You were one of only 2 SRD cars in the field here tonight, but just out of curiosity, with him having that win previously this season, was there any communication between you and him as to maybe some ideas for the setup tonight?
Yeah, we wanted to bring the same car. I was actually really fast in the spring, and I got bumped into probably like 4 laps into the race. So I was real excited to come back here. Thought we could bring the same set. I didn't think iRacing had made enough changes, but they did. They allowed us more flexibility in the left rear shock, and they kind of broadened the range of the spring size you could put in there. And so changed the car a little bit. It wasn't too far off, but yeah, I don't know. Justin, I love racing with him, man. We've had some good battles the last couple of weeks, and Tom was up there, and it was just an absolute blast. Jesse, I know, was up there. It was really fun. And, I love racing those guys. And I was talking to him, and I just said, man, I had you like the first 20 laps, but then you had me the second 20, and I just could not keep pace with him.
Shane, you got any questions for Brian?
Yeah, I was gonna bring up point where he was saying I was noticed that your car was really, really fast on the short runs, Brian, and then it was like almost at the same time Justin's car would come in, and the second his car would come in a long run, you would just get really, really loose. Do you think it was the middle line, high line you were running all race on? Was it bad adjustment calls? What do you think the problem was there with the car just getting super loose after like 20 laps?
Yeah, in practice, I was working on the track bars and I moved them up on the right rear, and it seemed to have better exit center out. But that's kind of what I felt like I was fighting and he wasn't. Was I would get into like center and I'd start to push, and then I'd start to get real loose. So it just tells me I need to actually loosen the whole corner up more. Where he would come in and have a nice line in, and he could run lower and stay lower and exit with more speed. And so that's where I was losing it, was right about center out. I just needed probably at that point needed something other than tire pressure and wedge to fix it.
Well, Brian, a great run for you here tonight. Obviously, as we've been talking about it, only a couple of races, about 5 races in total in the next 7 weeks until the playoffs begin. We know you've got that win at Homestead already locking you into the playoffs. So with a good run here tonight, going down in these final 5 races, is it all about trying to find victory lane a few more times before then? Is it about racking up the stage points? Because we know that you're still possibly in the hunt to get the overall regular season championship. Is it about racking up the playoff points with the stage wins? I mean, what's the outgoing goal here heading towards the eve of the playoffs?
Yeah, during the summer I travel across the state of Michigan to go see family. So like this was another one of those weeks. I just came off a whole week's vacation. I had about 2 hours to set this car up tonight, and it's strictly just going for wins. I know Justin, I think, shows up just about every week, and I'm not here enough to get the points. And so it's just trying to get wins, which equates to 5 extra points in the playoffs. Stage wins are 1, but I have not been good at winning stages throughout this whole year. And I gave a win away. I felt like early at Las Vegas, and that's haunting me. And I thought I had one at Darlington, and that slipped away too. So, yeah, it's just trying to get wins, trying to get some bonus points for the playoffs. That really, where you finish in the standings doesn't matter. It's all about wins, and Justin is racking them up. And I've told him, I said, I'm sick of finishing second to you, so I got to figure out something here fast.
Well, we may see you be able to figure something out when we get to New Hampshire next week. We wish you luck on that. Congrats on a great run here tonight, though, at Atlanta. Now we're going to give the opportunity for some thank you sponsors and shout-outs.
Yeah, hey, thanks to Dylan putting up with all of us crazy guys, keeping this league going strong forward. I want to thank the guys that are in here still hanging out, racing hard. I know we lost a few, and I hate seeing that, but just appreciate the clean, hard racing up front, and always love to have you guys on the box. So appreciate you coming out and broadcasting our events.
Well, Brian Cyber brings it home P2 here today at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Congratulations, Brian. Best of luck next week in New Hampshire. Hope you can carry this momentum in there. Maybe pick up win number 2 on the season, closing in on those playoffs.
All right, thanks.
And Brian finishes second place here tonight. To the driver, we're about to go down to victory lane to talk to 3-time winner Justin Belmonte. Hey, Justin, Shane and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yes, sir. What's happening?
Man, you told us back at the end of stage 2 that this car was hooked up and it was ready to go to victory lane, but we saw in stage 3 the road wasn't easy. A hard fighting with Tom Bourne, a dogfight after that second round of pit stops with Brian Cybery. We just talked with Brian. He said that he had a blast with the side-by-side battle you had. What was it like inside the cockpit of that 12?
Oh, man, I give Tom and Brian so much credit. That was one of the most fun races we've had in a really long time. Stage 1, me and Tom were side by side, door to door, like banging on each other, and never wrecked. It was incredible, the driving that the two of us were doing, and then the battles throughout. I mean, probably felt like the entire race. Me and Brian were just back and forth and back and forth. It was so much fun.
Now, Justin, I got to ask you, I mean, obviously, we saw you pick up your first win at Darlington. We saw you follow it up with another victory later on in the year at Pocono. That's a little over a mile track and then a 2-mile racetrack, and now we come here to 1.5 miles. Next week, we go to another different configuration at New Hampshire. So it seems like you're being able to find good, consistent speed at all different configuration tracks. With that being said, I got to ask, with all the different type of tracks we're going to in the playoffs, just how much does the confidence level continue to rise week after week?
Winning at a 1.5 mile track really helps because I haven't been. They're probably my weakest track type, I guess you'd say. The shorter tracks I love. I feel I've always been pretty respectable at the short track. So, and I think we've got a couple. Bristol's my favorite, and I know that's in the playoffs, so that'll be a good time. I think we've got a couple that are really up my alley, and we've got, of course, Phoenix at the end, which we were so strong. If not for a late race caution early in the year, we'd have another victory. So hopefully we make it there, and we'll have a pretty good shot.
Yeah, Justin, you kind of already answered the question I had. I was gonna ask you what your thoughts were racing Tom. I don't know if there was any like, frustrations there 'cause he was pinching you, and then he hit the wall in front of you, gave you some nose damage. But you said you enjoyed it. Was there any moment though, actually in the race that you're like, "Hey man, like I'm faster than you. What's going on?" Like, was there any
One
frustration?
little like 5 second come on man at our last battle where we kind of swapped. I got in front of him after a little bit, and then he got up in front of me, and I was like, to myself, like, come on, man. But it went away, and I was like, you know what? It's not even a problem because we've been going at it, and it's been a blast. So in the moment, it was like, ah. But looking back, it was cool. It was no big deal.
It was definitely fun watching it, that's for sure.
Yeah, man, we miss you out there.
I might come back. We'll see.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Well, Justin, obviously, congratulations. You continue to rack up those points as well. You get your 5th stage win back in stage 2 on the season. You get your 3rd win, so now you're only 1 win off of DeWeese for the most wins on the season. Not only that, you continue to grow that points lead as well in the overall standings, trying to clinch those bonus points heading to the playoffs as well. So it's certainly looking like a lot of things going right for that 12 machine, and we look forward to seeing if that momentum can carry into next week. We're now going to give you the opportunity for some Victory Lane. Thank you, sponsors and shoutouts.
Yeah, we've got a little bit of a team switch in the last few weeks. We switched over to HAR Esports, and Gary's hooked us up with some seriously badass rides, and we've been super fast. And we had the Atlanta Chum Bucket running super fast this week. So thank you to them and everybody that we work with over there. We've been doing some good stuff. So looking forward to what we could do.
Justin Belmonte, 3rd time he goes to Victory Lane here in Season 2 of the Clutch Drop Racing Series. Congratulations, Justin. Best of luck continuing down this home stretch towards the playoffs. We'll see you next week at New Hampshire and maybe see you in Victory Lane once again.
Yeah, hopefully I get to talk to you guys again. I enjoy it.
So as Justin Belmonte continues to celebrate down there in Victory Lane, it was basically looking like, Shane, it was going to come down between 3 drivers, Tom Bourne, Brian Sibry, and Justin Belmonte. But if you looked at all 3 of those drivers, Tom Bourne was really good on the short run. Brian Sibry, he could last a little bit longer, but he also seemed to be one of those drivers that was better on the short run, and then those rear tires would go away. But the one guy that always seemed consistent, always seemed to have his car planted no matter what corner he went into, was Justin Belmonte.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, Tom, he had to bring up the curse, so we interviewed him, and I think that's what jinxed him. He had to bring that up, and then I think his Cyber, he was really fast. He was about equal with him, but the second, if he could fix the rear tires, I think he would have given Justin a run for his money. But Justin was so good. I was watching that car. He could turn down from the high line, middle line. He could turn anywhere he wanted to. That car was on rails. So it was fun. This was my first time doing a full race. Hopefully I did an all right job, and it was fun. Maybe I'll have to do some more.
Yeah, it's cool to be able to have a driver that's been out there in this series and experienced the type of racing that we see here as well. For those that don't know, Shane Tyrion was actually a multi-time winner last season. 5 times he went to Victory Lane in Season 1. So with that being said, getting the driver's point of view, for a guy like Justin Belmonte that now has 3 wins in the bank, what's the mentality like then for a multi-time winner, knowing there's 5 races left to be able to get more points and everything? Do you go into the race thinking points? Do you go into the race thinking win? Do you just go into the race thinking survive and keep the car in one piece? What is the mentality for a driver that seems to be having everything going right for him right now?
Coming from my opinion, just go in there, no stress. You maybe try some different things on the setups. If you know you're going to go to a track that's similar in the playoffs, try and wing some things, and go for wins and try some crazy strategies and see what you can do for the playoffs. That'd be my goal. That'd be what I do, and I think that's what a lot of these guys that have multiple wins are going to try and do. Just bring a setup that they completely made out of nowhere, see how it handles if they're going to go a track similar, and get ready for the playoffs.
Well, drivers here tonight could have very well made cases for themselves to lock themselves into playoff position. Some other drivers might have to be relying on a little bit of magic to get into the playoffs. And next week, how fitting, we go to the Magic Mile of New Hampshire Motor Speedway. That's going to be a lot of fun to see if somebody might be able to make a last-minute move to get themselves into the postseason with a chance of battling for the championship. Of course, you got a number of multi-time winners that are trying to best each other with the most wins in the regular season, rack up the most playoff points by the time those standings get reformatted towards the championship standings. But Shane's been a great one here tonight. Appreciate you joining me in the booth. It's great to be able to get the driver's standpoint as well of what these guys were experiencing out there today in the slick conditions of Atlanta.
Yeah, it was fun. Thanks for having me. This was kind of a last minute deal with Matt Rodriguez reaching out to me, and I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot because he knows I've been wanting to try it because I went up in booth at All-Star TV a few weeks ago as like a in-race reporter, and I wrecked out in a championship race and ended up staying there for the whole race, and it was fun. So I'll have to do some more of these. It was a good time.
Thanks to everybody that tuned in tonight here as well. Hope you guys enjoyed our coverage of Atlanta Motor Speedway here for the Clutch Drop Racing Series. Next week, we will be bringing you action from New Hampshire Motor Speedway as we draw ever closer to the playoffs. That'll be next Sunday night. Green flag scheduled to fly at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For our in-race reporter, Tom Bourne, for Shane Tyrion, I'm Seth Cole. Thanks for joining us here tonight as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.